Harry Potter, Deducing Forbidden Curses at Hogwarts. Chapter 1. Why can't I even open my eyes? Charlie only felt a headache. He couldn't exert any strength. He just felt that he was in chaos, hazy. Isn't this what it feels like to be dead? Charlie felt melancholy for a while. He had just turned 18 and was about to go to college. He was extremely handsome and had always been the envy of his peers. What parents call other people's children? Handsome, smart, beautiful in morals, intelligence, and body. Lao Du was a good man. A group of little fans surrounded Charlie every day. If nothing else, it was the beginning of a good life. But an accident happened. Charlie suddenly fainted while he was resting. Then when his consciousness recovered, he was like this. "You are so good, God will reward you with God-level understanding." Charlie was stunned. Where does this sound come from? Where am I in this situation now? What kind of God-level understanding? What do I want to do with this? Charlie wanted to speak out, but found that he did not have the ability to speak. Still in a wet chaos. A month passed. "Lily, walk slower, your belly is so big." "Dear James, you are making too much fuss. I'm just pregnant, not injured." The ones who spoke were a couple with smiles on their faces. "Lily? James?" After a month, Charlie was finally able to hear the voice. Why does the name seem familiar? Charlie thought for a while. Could it be that this is the magical world? Harry Potter? In the past few days, I feel that my magic power has begun to weaken. I don't know if it is due to the influence of pregnancy. Lily sat down and said to James. "Yet? Honey, I think this is no small matter. We need to pay attention to it." James gently stroked Lily's belly and said worriedly. "It's over." Charlie only felt more confused. This is really the world of Harry Potter. Looking at it like this, he has become a baby. And it's still Harry. The son of Potter's parents. Am I Harry? No. Over the past month, I have clearly felt that my perception has become much stronger. Sure enough, there was another person beside him. Weak vital signs. It turns out that he has become Harry's brother. He is still a baby. This is a big deal. The beginning of Harry's family will not end well. He will face Voldemort's attack not long after he is born. I am Harry's brother. According to Voldemort's character, he will not let anyone go. There is only one mother, and the love shield should only be released once. Isn't this a fool's errand? Everyone knows, Harry will be protected from death by his mother's love shield. What can I do with this brother? Thinking of this, Charlie felt helpless. "Dear, the Ministry of Magic strictly prohibits the use of magic outside." Lily looked at James, Harry's father, and said softly. "Haha, this is not a place for ordinary people. I just couldn't hold back my excitement and wanted to give our baby some prenatal education in advance." At this moment, James' palms were condensing magic power, and he was gently rubbing Lily's belly. "You feel the magic power for the first time and understand the innate fetal breath. You can absorb and condense the magic power in the unborn state." Charlie was a little surprised. God will not deceive me. It turns out that what I said before was not meant to frame me. Charlie concentrated his attention and began to feel the information in his mind. A thought flashed through his mind. An inexplicable force and law are wandering around the body. Charlie only felt a trace of special power, like a substantial thread, beginning to wrap around his body. "Honey, something is wrong." James suddenly frowned slightly. He grasped the empty space with his hands. "Yes, dear. I felt like a trace of magic power was moving towards my body." Lily was also a little panicked. This situation is unprecedented. Although she is an excellent magician, she is currently pregnant after all, and she is worried about the impact it will have on her child. It's getting more and more violent. James looked solemn and stood up suddenly. At some point, a wand appeared in his hand. Could it be them? Lily looked nervous at this moment, and she also held the wand. At this moment, they have joined the Order of the Phoenix and have long become the natural enemies of the Death Eaters. Such an abnormal situation now makes them doubt whether there are Death Eaters coming. Attack them. Charlie was in Lily's belly at the moment, concentrating on feeling the infiltration of magic power. He didn't care at all that his parents outside were already on alert. Is this what magic feels like? Although Charlie was still in an infant state, he still felt that he has endless strength. His young body seems to have been completely filled with rich magic power. Almost. Charlie stopped his innate fetal breath and entered a dormant state again. After all, he is still in a baby's body and cannot support him for too long. Stopped. What happened? James and Lily looked at each other. They were a little at a loss. But they could clearly feel that the surge of magic around them had weakened a lot. Goo goo. An embarrassing cry broke the calm. A blush immediately appeared on Lily's face. It was her stomach growling. She didn't know why, but her stomach started growling again not long after eating. Oh, my dear, you get hungry too quickly. Please wait a moment and I'll get you some bread. James chuckled and stroked Lily's forehead slightly. He was about to leave. Suddenly, he seemed to feel something. A look of horror flashed across his face. After the surge of magic just now, his wife, and began to feel hungry. And the previous fluctuations of magic power were directed towards Lily's belly. Could it be that all this was caused by his child? If it was true, then his child would be too scary. He had seen some ancient magicians in history in the library of Hogwarts. Those powerful beings would have some visions before they were born. Am I, James, going to give birth to a genius in the wizarding world? Thinking of this, James came back immediately. Suddenly he hugged his wife Lily and told Lily his thoughts. Lily seemed to have thought of this situation, and the two immediately discussed how to find the great being at Hogwarts. Check out Dumbledore. Chapter 2. James immediately wrote a letter and asked the owl to deliver it to Dumbledore. The current situation is quite special and it is not appropriate for them to move around. Compared to now, the power of Death Eaters has gradually become stronger. The terrifying Dark Wizard has invaded the Ministry of Magic. Those of them who resist Voldemort are becoming more and more dangerous. Dear, if you have any situation while Albus is replying to the letter, you must tell me. James nervously held Lily's hands and warned. Although he was excited, he was still worried about Lily's situation. If he had a choice, he would rather choose an ordinary, safe child. Yes, our children will definitely be healthy and strong. Lily responded. She had an intuition. Her child must be a special being. A mother's intuition is generally not wrong. After a while, in front of James' house, a figure suddenly appeared. This man was wearing a long robe, with a head full of white hair, and his face looked slightly haggard. However, his posture is still upright. It was Albus Dumbledore. The person with the highest magical power in Hogwarts right now. Boom. Knocked the door gently. Oh, it seems that today is not the right time. Dumbledore said to himself. Suddenly, a stag flashed by. Then the stag's figure changed. It slowly turned into a human form. Charlie's father, James. Principal, please forgive me for being so cautious. James said with a hint of apology and a smile. In the situation, James. Dumbledore smiled, and then followed James into the house. You feel the animagus form and understand the innate animagus physique. Charlie just woke up not long ago. I felt a wave of magic power not far away. It turned out to be his father who was changing. Innate animagus can break through acquired limitations and transform into magical creatures. Charlie felt it quietly. Yes. In his impression, animagus generally could only transform into some non-magical creatures. For example, Professor McGonagall turns into a cat. Sirius turns into a wolf. Etc. But no one can turn into a magical creature. His innate animagus physique seems to be completely exempt from this restriction. I wonder what kind of creature it can transform into? Charlie was looking forward to it. But he's not born yet, so he can't use magic yet. Oh, James. After listening to this, I think your speculations are reasonable in this situation. Dumbledore thought for a long time after listening to what James and Lily had to say. Then he slowly took out a crystal ball. Lily, put your hand on the crystal ball. Dumbledore said softly. Lily immediately followed the instructions. Suddenly, there was a burst of color on the crystal ball. Then magic surged. The color of the transparent crystal ball slowly changed. From the transparent color at the beginning. Then blue. The color finally turned directly into red. Dumbledore's expression also began to gradually change. When it turned blue, Dumbledore made a sound of surprise. Then he looked at James and his wife with a smile. James and his wife looked at after seeing Dumbledore's smile, they seemed to be relieved. Although they didn't know what Dumbledore meant. But as long as Dumbledore's expression remained unchanged, there would be no big problem. But next, his face gradually became a little worse, especially Dumbledore's. The red crystal ball became more and more intense. Finally, it stopped changing color. Dumbledore let out a sigh of relief and looked at Lily strangely. "Headmaster Albus, is there something wrong?" James said with some doubts. He looked extremely nervous. "James, this is too strange." Dumbledore put away the crystal ball. "Did you know that this crystal ball is specially used to test the magical talents of unborn children? This talent can be counted at various latitudes. For example, before birth, the magic power reserve in the body, sensitivity to magic, give magical feedback to the crystal ball and more." James and Lily nodded. "When the crystal ball just turned blue, I was about to congratulate you. After all, I have never measured changes in blue so far. If it is blue, it proves that this child will definitely achieve great achievements in magic in the future. To put it simply, when I tested it, it was blue." Hearing this, a touch of surprise immediately appeared on James and Lily's faces. The same talent as Dumbledore? It turns out that their guess about the recent anomaly was correct. If it is the same talent as Dumbledore, then what potential will their children have in the future? But then it turned red, which surprised me a little. Dumbledore continued, adjusting his little glasses. "If it is red, it may be that the crystal ball cannot test it, which means that your child's potential has exceeded the test range of the crystal ball. But in history, this situation seems to have never happened, so I am so confused." "Yes. Even Dumbledore's crystal ball can't detect it. This kind of situation is generally impossible to happen. After all, Dumbledore's magic props are not comparable to ordinary props. You don't have to worry too much and can give birth with peace of mind. I can feel it myself, this child is very energetic. It's very possible that the crystal ball is broken. After all, I haven't done this for a long time," Dumbledore said slowly. But his eyes glanced at Lily's belly. Charlie felt as if he was being stared at by an inexplicable force. It made him a little uncomfortable. Then he mobilized his own magic power to form an invisible barrier. "Kindness." Dumbledore felt his gaze was interrupted and let out a cry of surprise. "It's amazing. This child is amazing." He was able to interrupt his gaze. Although he didn't use much magic, the other person was just a baby, how could it happen? This power. "Lily, I think I may have guessed wrong," Dumbledore suddenly said. "It is very likely that your child cannot be tested by this crystal ball." Chapter 3. Can't measure it? James and his wife were slightly surprised. "Is this really the case?" "Lily, if you don't mind, I think I'll add some more magic and explore a little more," Dumbledore said. Lily and James looked at each other, and then nodded. "Soon." Dumbledore stared again. Charlie felt a little uncomfortable. Here it comes again. Who is messing with me? After thinking about it, Charlie gathered together again barrier, cutting off contact with the outside world. "Oh ho ho, this little guy is angry." Dumbledore was a little embarrassed and smiled. He already had the answer in his heart. The child Lily is carrying is an amazing being. "Bless you, dear James Lily." Dumbledore stood up and no longer acted. Only his eyes showed joy. Among the honest wizards, there will be another genius in the future. Oh no, maybe two. He already knew that Lily was pregnant. It's twins. Have you thought of the names of the children? Please forgive me for being a bit presumptuous. You don't mind? We have agreed that the child who caused the change will be called Charlie Potter, and the other one will be called Harry Potter. James smiled. What a nice name, Hogwarts welcomes them. Dumbledore smiled and nodded, then said goodbye to the couple and left here. You feel the visit of a powerful magician and realize the cultivation method of God-level perception. Charlie was a little surprised. Is this the benefit of having a heaven-defying understanding? Charlie immediately digested the information. It didn't take long. He felt that there was no longer chaos around him. Some of the movements around him became so clear. He could clearly sense that his resentful brother was still sleeping. The parents looked surprised at this moment. Everything about the room is arranged. Finally able to sense the outside world. Is this what babies are like? After such a long time, Charlie finally established contact with the outside world again. Lily, we are expecting an amazing baby. James is very excited at the moment. As a parent, who doesn't want his child to be successful? Now Dumbledore has such a high opinion of one of his children. Who else would be unhappy? Yet, but James, I always feel a little uneasy. Don't worry, I will protect you. James held Lily in his arms. She was so protective. Charlie was speechless for a while. His biggest headache now was the safety of his own life. According to the course of history, Voldemort would come not long after they were born. As soon as I was born, I would have no father or mother. Alas! Several months passed. In the past few months, Charlie woke up more and more often in his belly. It causes quite a stir every time. Now the frequency and capacity of absorbing magic power are much stronger than before. Even my mother's appetite has been greatly affected, and she has to eat several meals a day. Finally it was time to give birth. Another person appeared in James and Lily's house. Look at everything around you with vigilance. Sirius, Harry's godfather. Oro has not been arrested at this time. He is Harry's father's best friend. Now that Lily is giving birth, he takes the initiative to take on the role of guardian. Wow! A clear cry. The twins were born. Charlie came out first and did not cry. Then Harry was born. He cried and cried as soon as he came out. James was very happy and immediately reported Harry to Lily's side. Then he seemed to notice something unusual and immediately looked at Charlie. Why wasn't this baby crying? Charlie seemed to sense something was wrong. Immediately, he looked like a scholar Harry and started crying. The sound was like a bell. Dear Lily, our boss is indeed extraordinary. As long as our children are healthy. Lily had just given birth and was a little weak. But her eyes looking at her two children were full of happiness. Charlie opened his eyes, and his eyes were hurt by the light. Is this the magical world? It's been so long, finally let him see the world. In the following time, Sirius comes here often. Help James and his wife take care of the twins. Half a year has passed in the blink of an eye. Oh James, look at the boss Charlie, his cold demeanor is completely different from Harry. Look, he's crawling towards your staff. Oh, my little prince, you don't want to use magic. Sirius laughed. He was extremely amused by Charlie's behavior. Charlie had already touched the wand at this moment, and was waving it in a decent way. A magic wand. Charlie grabbed it and fell into thinking for a while. This is the wand in the magical world, the most important weapon for wizards. You touch the wand, feel the flow of the wand's magic power, and understand the perfect wand fit method. As Charlie waved his hands, he felt that the wand fit more and more with himself. Between the changing afterimages, Sirius's face began to change. James, come here quickly. Come on, there's something wrong with Charlie. Sirius's face changed drastically. Why did this little kid, Charlie, become so skillful in waving his wand? And, what the hell is that condensed magic power? He is still just a baby. Quick! James! Boom! Suddenly, there was a loud noise. A ray of magic energy condensed and went straight to Sirius. Sirius was shocked and immediately transformed into a wolf dog and flashed past. Then he looked at the place just now and couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. That wall was blasted through by this magic power. This was caused by that boy Charlie. What kind of monster is this boy? Harry can't even play with mud now. Charlie can already use magic. It's terrible. Fortunately, I ran fast. Otherwise, James would have to support me for the rest of my life today. Chapter 4. James is making bread. After hearing shouts from upstairs. At first I didn't care a little. It just felt like Sirius was playing around with his two children. It turned out that Sirius's tone was getting more and more urgent. Feeling bad? Immediately put down what you were doing and go upstairs. But it's too late. A hole had been blasted out of the white wall. And the instigator seems to be his eldest son. Oh, my brother, don't tell me that Charlie did it. James' lips trembled slightly, and he glanced at the frightened Sirius. Sirius was still in the shape of a wolf at this moment. He let out a low growl. But the fear was still hard to hide on his face. Soon, Sirius recovered his body and went to get it. He put on a set of clothes and murmured in his mouth. Crazy, crazy, Charlie is a monster. And Charlie himself. Currently sitting on the ground. Looking at the hole in the wall. Thoughtful. Sure enough, he still didn't fully control his strength. It seems that I still need to practice. But I haven't had time to think too much. From the corner of Charlie's eyes, he caught a glimpse of his father's strange eyes. Forehead. Seems a bit over the top. Charlie then immediately threw away his wand. Put on a bright smile. It seems that everything happens accidentally. My baby, you really gave Daddy too many surprises. James didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Then he picked up the wand. Back to good health. Mutter the spell and wave the wand gently. The ruins of the wall that were just broken began to change at this moment. The fragments began to fly upward and slowly fell on the hole. After a while, the wall finally returned to its original appearance. Charlie saw it all. You have observed the casting of the restoration mantra and understood the advanced version of the restoration mantra. Advanced version. Charlie thought for a moment. The restoration spell my father just cast had many flaws. For example, the swing before casting is too long. Recovery time is slow. If the fragment is stuck, it still needs guidance to restore it to its original state. Even on the current walls, some traces of recent damage can be faintly detected. However, the advanced version of his own recovery spell does not seem to have these shortcomings. But it takes a little practice. Certainly. The current situation is definitely not suitable for practice. Otherwise, you will be causing damage again. Then fix it. He would probably scare his parents and Sirius out of their wits. It would be embarrassing if you were sent away as a freak. James, Charlie looks extraordinary. Sirius said slowly after changing his clothes. At this moment, their faces had calmed down slightly. Looking at Charlie's harmless face, it was meaningful. Just now, he almost fell into the hands of his good nephew. Now his good nephew, or good old boy, is still looking at him with a smile. Wait. This smile. It always feels like a professional fake smile. Dear, what are you doing? When are we going to have dinner? Lily walked over drowsily and asked softly. She had been resting just now. She was awakened by the movement here. In a hazy state, she seemed to hear them discussing their great son. Lily picked him up easily. He looked at Harry. But he found that Harry's eyes were staring at Charlie blankly. There seemed to be a trace of panic in his eyes. Dear Harry, what's wrong with you? Why do you keep looking at your brother? Lily squeezed Harry's fat arm lovingly. Harry suddenly started crying. After looking at Charlie blankly, he immediately buried his head in Lily's arms. This brother is really scary. Charlie looking at the look of his resentful brother, he couldn't help but smile. It seems that his good brother will still be bullied by his cousins every day. Come, my Harry. Why do you see your brother looking like this? Lily was dumbfounded by Harry. My dear, you may not believe it. Harry just cast a spell to shatter the wall of our house. James suddenly spoke up and waved his hand. Got it, wait, what did you say? Absolutely. Lily seemed to have just understood. She suddenly turned her head and looked at her husband in disbelief. She seemed to want to find a flaw in his face. James responded with a shrug, indicating that he was not joking. Lily he immediately turned his head away and looked at Sirius again. Don't look at me, I just changed my clothes. All thanks to this little guy. Sirius showed a wry smile. OMG. My Charlie, what a terrifying talent do you have? After Lily got a positive answer, she handed Harry directly to Sirius. She walked to Charlie and picked him up directly. Her face was full of doting. Harry watched his mother just leave. He cried out again. He made a whimpering sound. He seemed to be calling his mother. But at this moment, Lily had no intention of listening to Harry's call. All she could see was that she, who had just been born, was using all her powers not long after she was born. A big boy with magic. Charlie was not feeling well at the moment. He was lifted up in the air by Lily. He looked at her carefully. Ah, my clear and cute mother. Can you put me down? Just when Charlie was helpless. The magic power in Charlie's body began to surge. An unpleasant feeling came into his heart. It was strange. Wei Mao felt that all the bones in my body were squirming. The next second, Charlie only saw the panicked eyes of his parents. And serious alert look. Charlie looked at his arm again. At this moment, his arm actually had scales. Black and red scales grew slowly. His limbs were also slowly changing. They seemed to be changing. Stronger. Is it possible? I am about to deform? Is this innate animagus realized in the mother's womb finally about to undergo its first change? Chapter 5. Ordinary animagus is an ability acquired through acquired practice. For example, Professor McGonagall from Hogwarts likes to turn into a tabby cat. For example, Sirius will turn into a wolf dog. Another example is Charlie and Harry's father James, who will turn into a stag. But Charlie's innate animagus physique was inconsistent with them. Their animagus cannot transform into magical creatures. Charlie's innate animagus can break through this limitation. It's a pity that Charlie doesn't know what kind of creature he will become. And it seems now this ability is not particularly controllable. Just after Charlie saw Sirius's transformation, his body began to react. Until now, the reaction became so strong. Oh my God, James! What happened to Charlie? Lily was anxious. She hugged Charlie into her arms. Tears were shining in the corners of her eyes. She couldn't blame her. The current situation of Charlie was really unbelievable. Although James was calmer than Lily, there was no trace of anxiety in his eyes. I couldn't hide it. The two hugged Charlie tightly. Albus, that's right. Let's send a message to Albus quickly. Lily cried anxiously. A bunch of scales had appeared on Charlie's body in her arms. He looked a little frightened. Charlie felt that his whole body was full of strength. After seeing Lily's anxious look, she couldn't help but feel a little moved. She stretched out her hand slightly and wiped Lily's tears. Lily was shocked. Then she became even more worried. My child, my child. I originally wanted to comfort you, Mom. Why are you crying louder? It's okay. Charlie was a little helpless. But his body was changing faster and faster. Suddenly, a low growl came from Charlie's throat. A sound that is completely inappropriate for a baby to make. James, send this message to Albus quickly. Lily urged. Okay, I'll go right away. James just raised his leg, but was stopped by Sirius. Sirius was the calmest of the three. The look in his eyes at this moment was extremely complicated. There was worry. There was also doubt. There was also a trace of panic. James, maybe Charlie is deformed. Animagus. James and Lily were shocked. He quickly looked at Charlie. But Charlie's figure at this moment frightened everyone. Charlie no longer looks human. Instead, it's a young fire dragon. Fire dragon. Magical creatures. It can be said to be the strongest series of existences among magical animals. There are many branches of fire dragon, such as Australian opali, Norwegian ridgeback, and so on. James and the others probably had to learn these things when they were in school at Hogwarts. The Charlie in front of him looks like a fire dragon. It's just a physical feature, and it's impossible to tell which subdivided type it is. Fire dragon. Sirius swallowed. James, Lily. Charlie is just too scary. This should be the innate animagus recorded in some ancient books, which can transform into magical creatures. James let out a breath. It took him a long time to recover. He gently touched Charlie. He found that Charlie didn't resist him. The big stone in his heart slowly fell. Lily, on the other hand, threw herself directly at Charlie. I started crying. It is possible, the probability is very small, but the possibility cannot be ruled out. James nodded, looking horrified. I just didn't expect that Charlie would transform into a fire dragon. This thing is so shocking. I have never heard of such a thing. Indeed, I think James and you must keep this a secret, otherwise it will cause unnecessary disaster for Charlie. Everyone understood and expressed their approval. A wizard who is born with the ability to transform into a fire dragon. Just these few entries. Just pick one out and put it on a baby. It's unbelievable. Don't tell Albus and the others just yet. Lily made a decision. Now she feels completely blind to her eldest son. The shock given by Charlie is too much. For the sake of safety, everything about Charlie must be kept secret as much as possible. Charlie raised his hands and feet at this moment, and he was also lost in thought. What kind of creature had I become? How should I change back? Also, I am so hungry now. Charlie broke away from Lily's arms. He found that he was crawling and walking. This body brought about a great change. Then Charlie walked towards the mirror and looked at it carefully. Finished. A fire dragon. So outrageous. Although this change can make him a lot stronger, it is also too scary. No wonder his parents were so frightened. After Charlie calmed down, he let out a low whimper and signaled his parents to help get the food on the table. James and Lily were startled. Then he hesitated. He handed the food to Charlie. After all, Charlie's true form was just a baby. Charlie was not polite. After entering the animagus form, he already had the ability to swallow. It was not the weak image of a baby at all. Now he was very hungry. He needed to eat to replenish energy. Then Charlie swallowed the food. It was wiped out in a few times. Sirius noticed the abnormality of Charlie. He chuckled and shook his head. Charlie is still a baby. Even if he enters the animagus form, he is only relying on instinct. Then Sirius went to find some food and handed it all to Charlie. Charlie didn't even raise his head and started to devour it. Soon, the food was destroyed by Charlie. Charlie burped. Something strange happened. Charlie's fire dragon body began to grow visibly to the naked eye. At first it was only the size of a short stool. In just a few breaths, it grew by 1/3. Then Charlie yawned again. Under the gaze of everyone. Again. Slowly returned to the form of a baby. At this point, Lily finally couldn't hold it any longer. My child, you have finally changed back. Lily cried again. She was always worried that Charlie would not turn into a human form. James and Sirius also breathed a sigh of relief at this moment. And Charlie's good brother Harry was shivering in place. He couldn't stop his eyes. She shed tears. She instinctively wanted to stay away from Charlie. His brother was really terrifying. But because he was just a baby, he didn't have the strength to avoid it. James, I think we need to pay attention to everything about Charlie. Sirius sighed. Now Charlie, just this day, has given them so much shock. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, who would have believed that a baby would have so many abilities and talents? Being able to wave a wand and cast spells. Innate it will enter the animagus form. It is still the top magical creature, the fire dragon. As Sirius sighed, the atmosphere in the room instantly cooled down. Yes. None of this information can be leaked. Now James and his wife, we are already in a very dangerous situation. If the Death Eaters find out, no one will survive. If the Death Eaters know that there is such a thing as Charlie, they will probably find James and his family if the Earth is overturned. Chapter 6. James and others had a good discussion about Charlie. In the end it was decided not even to tell Dumbledore for the time being. Dumbledore only knows that Charlie is a gifted child. Others are completely unknown. It's not that he doesn't trust Dumbledore. It's just that the current situation is too special. They can't tolerate any mistakes. Charlie listened to their discussion and felt helpless. Calculate the time. Wait until they are 1 year old. Voldemort will come in his true form. At that time, his parents would most likely die in order to protect Harry. Although we are cautious now, it does not have much effect. Another period of time passed. Sirius rarely visited James again. According to Charlie's estimate, it is estimated that the confidential contact person has been changed at this moment. Now if it were that Peter, it won't be long before all their whereabouts will be betrayed. Then came the tragedy of massacre. Charlie had no chance to touch a magic wand these days, so naturally he had no chance to practice some magic. But his own magic power is still growing. This is the benefit brought by heaven-defying understanding. Not to mention people of the same age simply do not have the ability to awaken magic power. Compared with those students who have just received admission notice, Charlie is not much worse. It is worth mentioning that during this period of time, Charlie began to gradually become proficient in the art of transformation. That is, entering the animagus form. And every time he eats when he transforms into a fire dragon, the size of the fire dragon form increases a lot. Charlie Mao estimated that ordinary wizards were no longer his opponents. After all, now that he has entered the animagus form, he can spray dragon fire. To this, James and Lily seemed numb. They have fully accepted this situation. They had a weirdo. A genius wizard. A terrifying fire dragon. It's just Harry, Charlie's resentful brother. He couldn't be kind to Charlie. Every time he looked at Charlie, his eyes were full of fear. This is instinctive fear. Charlie had nothing to do with this. In an old house, one person is lying on the sofa. Listen calmly to the report of the person in front of you. So, there are already traces of the son of prophecy. If you look closer, it is easy to see that this person has no nose, it is Voldemort himself. And in front of him is Peter Pettigrew. Yes, my great master. There is another special situation that I think I need to report to you. Explain. James and his wife, they gave birth to a bunch of twins. In other words, it is impossible to specifically distinguish which one is the child of prophecy. Voldemort chuckled. Just kill all the inferior Muggle bloods. After hearing this, Peter Pettigrew couldn't help but tremble slightly. It has been almost a year since Charlie and Harry were born. Harry is growing in happiness every day. Charlie is quietly increasing his magic power and strengthening his dragon form. These days, James and Lily were obviously a little anxious. Maybe they also have a bad premonition. Dear Charlie, you are so unusual compared to Harry. Lily picked up Charlie and kissed him gently. This is almost a daily routine. Charlie has become accustomed to it. You have been irrigated by maternal love for a long time and have understood the soul rescue technique. Is this okay? Can I also understand this? Charlie couldn't sit still. But he quickly calmed down and started thinking. Soul rescue technique. As the name suggests, it plays a role in rescuing souls. But it's a pity. It can only be used on close relatives. The effect is to retain a trace of their soul within themselves, not allowing them to completely dissipate. Charlie concentrated slightly. At this time, I realized the magic. Is it because it is already destined? Whatever. If there is really no other way, at least you can use this soul rescue technique to retain a bit of the soul of your parents. If there is an opportunity in the future, there is room for maneuver. Charlie looked back at his silly brother. Harry was happily playing with his toys. A pair of eyes met Charlie. A cold sweat broke out instantly. The body retreated involuntarily. This feeling has been deeply engraved in Harry's heart like a brand. He has an almost blood-suppressing fear towards his compatriot brother Charlie. Silly boy. Charlie sighed slightly in his heart. I still envy Harry's days where he doesn't have to think about anything. At night, James's family has fallen asleep. Suddenly, there was a movement downstairs. James woke up immediately. Recently, he has been in this state of alert. The slightest movement will wake him up. At the same time, Charlie also woke up quickly. James also discovered something unusual about Charlie at this moment. Look slightly. Little one, don't you think something's wrong too? You and your mother and brother sleep peacefully, and I'll go take a look. For some reason, James felt that Charlie felt a sense of danger just like him. In his understanding, although Charlie was young, he kept surprising them and creating miracles. Subtly, what he said as if he was communicating with an old wizard. Charlie watched James leave the room. His heart gradually became cold. Here he is. He has the ability to perceive beyond everyone else. He had already realized this before he was born. He has this special ability. Now his consciousness is covering them. Dark wizards with powerful magic powers have appeared around their house. It's strange. Logically speaking, it's just Voldemort coming. This time, many people were dispatched. Could it be that his appearance has the plot changed too much? Whoosh! 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 Around the house, a sound broke through the air. There were more and more dark wizards. Lily was also awakened at this moment. Her expression was full of worry. Oh no! Charlie felt a slight shudder in his heart. Something happened to his father. Chapter 7. Charlie's consciousness covered the entire house. He could feel it clearly at this moment. Father James's vitality dropped sharply. My darlings, may God bless us. Lily also seemed to feel a hint of uncertainty. On top of the dark color, there was a touch of despair. Then she picked up Charlie and Harry with difficulty and prepared to retreat. Not long ago, she had practiced this kind of behavior with her husband James. Situation. Once danger really comes, James will delay time for them. Lily will be mainly responsible for retreating with the two babies and seeking support. But although the plan is like this, the two of them also understand. When they really face that person, with a high probability of escaping death. Not to mention bringing two children. The child is Voldemort's real target. Crunch. Lily opened the door. She looked around cautiously. Then she quietly came to the balcony. Ready to leave. Min Lily has already felt her husband's crisis. But she can no longer think about it at this moment. She must protect her 2 children with the right to protect her 2 children. This is the biggest wish of her and her husband James. But it backfired. Lily had just arrived on the balcony. When I want to cast a spell and leave. Expelliarmus. A spell sounded. An inexplicable force directly took away Lily's wand. Now, Lily had no resistance at all. After all, Lily can cast spells without a wand, but they are just irrelevant. Urgent spells. Those confrontational magics are impossible for Lily to cast without a wand. There are 3 figures in front of Lily. Fortunately, there is no Voldemort. At this moment, Voldemort should still be captured by James. Hold on. Are you really going to attack us? Lily felt a little desperate. She recognized that among the Death Eaters in front of her, there was actually a former classmate. The classmate dodged Lily's eyes. He seemed a little intolerable. Sorry, this is the master's order. Your 2 children must die. Why are you nagging her so much? Let's settle it quickly. Lily, we won't hurt you, this is what the master promised. The 3 Death Eaters began to wave their wands. A wave of magic began to gather. Harry was frightened in Lily's arms. He burst into tears. Charlie was unusually calm at the moment. He was waiting for an opportunity. At the moment, he has no ability to move and cannot cause harm to these Death Eaters. But he has an animagus form. Life is only in an instant, and if you miss it, you really miss it. Lily is not idle either. She knows it. She knew that these people would not let her go at all. Since the Death Eaters and Voldemort had come to the door today, there must be a traitor within the Order of the Phoenix. I saw her footsteps moving slightly. Under the gaze of several people, flash directly. Have you cast the spell in advance? One of the Death Eaters narrowed his eyes slightly. Just when Lily was about to touch the wand, a burst of magic hit Lily's child. Mean. Lily didn't have time to touch the wand. She could only hold the child tightly in her arms. She resisted the magic with her own body and fell to the ground with difficulty. The 2 children also jumped out of Lily's arms. Harry shouted loudly, crying. He was frightened by everything in front of him. Charlie also staggered. Let me go. It hurts. My dear brother, can you please stop arguing? Charlie felt that the time had come. 3 Death Eaters were slowly approaching. Lee! Harry cried loudly. He seemed to feel a hint of danger. Charlie thought for a moment and burst into tears. The necessary acting skills still have to be online. If you don't cry all the time, the difference with Harry is huge. Once they attack Charlie first, there will be nothing they can do. Please, please let my child go. Lily was a little desperate. She crawled in the direction of Harry with difficulty. It's impossible. Whoever the master wants to die must die. One of the Death Eaters finished. He didn't even look at Lily. Avada. Just when he was about to cast the life-killing curse of chewing a big melon. Sudden changes occur. Only his behind was seen. A fire dragon jumped out of nowhere. Not even a dragon roar came out. It's just a magical dragon flame. In an instant, these 3 people were surrounded by dragon flames. He didn't even have time to scream. Directly lost the ability to struggle. Success. Charlie breathed a sigh of relief. Sorry, dear brother. My brother couldn't help it either. I want to save you and Mom. I can only make you feel aggrieved first and act as a bait. Then the elder brother can make a sneak attack. Lily's eyes were slightly startled. Just that moment. She was completely desperate. After all, she was too far away from the 2 children and had no chance to rescue them. But this scene now. But it left her stunned. Her eldest son was so good at timing. When the 3 Death Eaters relaxed their vigilance, they attacked directly from behind. A set of silky little combos. There was no chance for the other party to react. The sophistication of this method, could it be that it was deliberately practiced? If it's true, then she is such a grown-up child, and she is too outrageous. After all she knew. Charlie has entered the animagus form. He also retained his own consciousness. That is to say, the fire dragon's attack just now. It was all done deliberately by Charlie. How old is Charlie? Lily was confused. Of course Charlie did it on purpose. Long before. He had deliberately practiced this plan and combo. There is something to say. Deliberately practicing, from novice to master, before Lily could react. Charlie directly picked up Harry and then ran towards Lily quickly. At this moment, there was no room for them to linger. You have to race against time. It's a pity that Charlie's current baby dragon body has grown a lot. But flying was still a bit difficult. Not to mention having to take 2 people with him. Lily also understood what Charlie meant. Get up immediately. No matter how injured he is. With one breath. Take Harry and climb down from the balcony. At this time, Charlie was slightly shocked. A terrifying wave of magic power approached. Dad failed. Voldemort is coming. Chapter 8. Lily was in panic. Didn't seem to feel anything unusual. But her figure suddenly became slower. Until the end. Unable to move. At this moment, she was desperate again. Being able to cast spells so smoothly and control her behavior. That was the only one among these Death Eaters. If it were him, then his husband James would probably be in serious danger. Oh, dear Miss Lily, where are you going? A strange man without a nose walked over with a smile. Charlie was still in the body of a dragon at this moment. He carefully looked at the person in front of him. Yes, it was the Voldemort who was good at Avatar's big melon killing curse. He didn't run away. Now under such circumstances, Charlie and his team face this guy. It can be said that there is no chance of winning. We must be cautious in everything. Oh, I didn't expect that you even raised a little dragon. My stupid servants turned into ashes. I guess it was you, the cute little guy, who did it. Raising a dragon? Charlie was speechless. You are the first dragon. Your whole family is a dragon. The next second, Charlie was blasted out. He hit the wall in a daze. It really hurts. This guy is serious. I'll deal with you later, little one. If you surrender to me, I won't kill you. Voldemort gave Charlie a self-righteous smile, causing Charlie to feel a chill. Lily, go away. I promised others not to harm your life. Voldemort still has some principles. Please, you can kill me. But please let my child go. Lily begged with some despair. She had no choice. Although she didn't want to bow to this force. But for the love of her children, she had no choice. At the moment, she still had a glimmer of extravagant hope. Voldemort could let her children go. Even if he gave up. She doesn't care about her life. Dear Lily, you are still too naive. Voldemort chuckled. His eyes were full of indifference to life. Disdain. Goodbye, despicable muggle blood. Avada. A life-killing curse was released directly. The terrifying magic pressure made the whole earth tremble slightly. Don't want. Lily cried bitterly, and flew over directly. She stood in front of Harry. Harry cried loudly. Lily hugged him tightly. An ancient magic power radiated from her body. Then, a change occurred. The killing curse directly rebounded. Charlie let out a long breath. No chance. It's still the same. In order to protect Harry, his mother used her life to cast the love shield. Voldemort was counterattacked by his own death curse and was about to die. And he and Harry will become orphans. Charlie is also a little powerless. To be honest, he must still have feelings for his parents in this life. However, he is still too young and has no chance to turn the tide. Ah! Voldemort let out a sharp cry. He seemed to be crying bitterly. Charlie looked at him coldly, waiting for his death. His mother had lost the characteristics of life. Harry was also frightened. Right now, only Voldemort and himself are left in the entire house. How could this happen, damn Lily? Impossible, impossible. How could my magic be rebounded? Ah! Damn it! Voldemort's whole body began to twist. It was as if he had experienced endless pain. The wailing sounds were endless. But at this moment, Charlie began to feel that something was wrong. What's going on? Still not dead? Are you going to die? I'll go. I won't die. Charlie had a vague feeling of bad premonition. After all, the entire trajectory had changed a little. For example, he became Harry's brother. This time Voldemort came to visit and brought a group of Death Eater slaves with him. Something unexpected happened, too. Possible. You just saw someone else cast a powerful life-killing curse, and you also understood the unspelled version of the life-killing curse. Charlie's eyelids couldn't help but twitch. Okay. This is not a timely help. Ah! Voldemort roared in pain. Black smoke began to appear all over his body. Visible to the naked eye, the breath of life was fading. But when it reached a certain level, it stopped. Ha 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 ha. Not dead, you despicable Muggleborn actually wants to kill me. Ha 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 ha, impossible, absolutely impossible. Sure enough. Charlie guessed it right. He was not dead at all. Suddenly, a gust of cool wind blew by. In the silent night, there was a trace of sound. It seemed a little out of place. Voldemort was sweating profusely at this moment. Suddenly something bad flashed through his heart. Feeling. Turning back suddenly. I found that the fire dragon just now was gone. Instead, it was a seemingly harmless baby. And that baby was holding Lily's wand at the moment. Looking at me with some fun. Next for a second. Voldemort was stunned. A life-killing curse hit him. Ah! Why is this happening? You are not a dragon at all, you are Lily's son. How could this be possible? It's impossible. How could you be able to transform and cast a life-killing spell? Voldemort went crazy. He was most broken right now. It's not the death curse in his body. But the doll in front of me. It's really incredible. A baby actually cast the death curse in a decent manner? And it's still casting spells without a spell? This series of operations. All of them showed Charlie's terror. This was impossible for the proud Voldemort. He doesn't allow such a genius wizard to exist. Bring it, old thing. Charlie snorted coldly in his heart. He cast the death curse with all his strength. A minute later, Voldemort, who had been seriously injured, died, before he died. The eyes looking at Charlie were extremely complicated. Shocked. Unbelievable. Fear envy. Chapter 9. Voldemort died. Under the death curse of a baby chewing a big melon. If he told it, no one in the wizarding world would believe it. But Charlie also knew it. This death was not a true death. Given time, Voldemort will definitely come back. If the plot didn't go astray. Fortunately, Voldemort had just taken it lightly. Coupled with his handsome sneak attack, he succeeded. Otherwise, we don't know what will happen. Charlie lowered his wand. At this moment, he has returned to his baby appearance. His younger brother, Harry, seemed to have felt his situation. Cried louder. Crawling towards Lily's side with some difficulty. Howling. Charlie looked at everything in front of him. Somewhat helpless. Then he used the remaining magic power to perform the soul salvation he had understood before. Moment. Charlie's spiritual world seemed to have entered an ethereal realm. Everything around. At this moment everything becomes calm and thorough. Indistinctly. Charlie seemed to feel the breath of his parents. Then a ray of light flowed out from the parents' bodies. Turned into an invisible stream of light. Fly directly into Charlie's body. It's done. Charlie thought silently in his mind. He felt that this spell casting was very successful. As for this trace of his parents' souls, he will wait until he becomes stronger to see if there is a chance. This is the best he can do at the moment. Harry was still crying. He looked up and saw Charlie. Charlie's expression was calm. This expression seemed extremely disharmonious on a baby. Surprisingly, Harry was not afraid to look at Charlie at this moment. He silently forgot he glanced at Charlie. Then he lay down. He seemed to be tired from crying. He also seemed to feel the sadness of his parents leaving. Charlie closed his eyes and began to meditate. He slowly recovered his magic power. This wave of crisis can be regarded as the end of the crisis. It's over. I survived. I still saved a bit of my parents' souls. I'm tired. At this age when I should only be responsible for being cute. I took on a heavy responsibility that I shouldn't have to bear. Time passes slowly. Harry was tired from crying and had fallen asleep. Cha stood on the other side with his eyes slightly closed. Suddenly, a door opened. Then a man in black hurriedly broke in. Charlie's eyes opened slightly. As soon as he sensed it, he immediately knew the identity of this person. Severus Snape. Mom, Lily's good friend. My Lily, my Lily. Sorry, it's all my fault. Ah. Snape suddenly knelt down on the ground. His expression was sad. He was greatly hit. He hugged Lily's body and burst into tears. I'm late, I'm late. Why is this happening, why? You obviously promised me that I would let you go and protect you. Why is it like this now? Sure enough. Charlie was a little helpless. Snape was still an infatuated person. But if it weren't for the capriciousness of this group of people, James and Lily would not necessarily have ended up like this. Damn, why is this happening? Where is Voldemort? Where have you been? Come out. You hurt Lily, and I'm going to make you pay the price. Come out. Crazy. Charlie shook his head. My good uncle, at this moment you should think of a way to settle me and my resentful brother. Don't keep going crazy. Suddenly, Snape's eyes were slightly cold. Suddenly staring at Harry next to Lily. Looking at Harry's eyes. This Harry has the same eyes as Lily, but his face is very similar to James. It's you. If it weren't for you, Lily wouldn't have died. He won't die, it's all caused by you. It's you. Snape's tone was a little low. His face became increasingly gloomy. When Charlie heard this, his eyes stared blankly at Snape. He held the wand in his plump palm. It's not over. My good Uncle Snape. Your idea is extreme. Obsessed brother. Don't take out your anger on my brother. If anything happens, come to me. It's better to forget it. Have to. I really want to transfer everything to Harry. Snape grabbed Harry's clothes. Lifted Harry up directly. Wow! A loud cry. Harry was frightened. Snape's gloomy and stern expression. To be honest, it was quite scary. Snape muttered a curse at the corner of his mouth. The whole person entered a state of bewilderment. For love crazy? Charlie couldn't sit still. He picked up the wand directly. A pure magic bombardment hit Snape hard. Snape was sent flying a few steps. Harry fell directly. Fall. It's so annoying. I cry even louder. Who is it? Snape was struck by this blow. He seemed to have calmed down a little. The crazy look on his face slowly receded. At this moment, he looked at his hands. There was a feeling of regret in his heart. What on earth was he doing just now? Why did he follow a baby went to release his anger? It was obvious that he came too late and failed to protect Lily. Now he would blame the child. Lily's child has the same eyes as Lily. Thinking of this, Snape felt regretful. But then, he seemed thinking of something, his eyes suddenly glanced at Charlie. Those cold eyes seemed to want to see through Charlie. Charlie had a baby fat face, twitching slightly. He finally managed to squeeze out a seemingly friendly smile. But in Snape's eyes, it wasn't so harmonious. It always felt like one of Lily's sons was mocking him. It was him just now who bombarded himself with magic. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, no matter who, he wouldn't believe anything he said. A baby could actually wave a magic wand and attack him. Moreover, the abundant magic power actually knocked him back. But fortunately, without him, he wouldn't be able to calm down. Calm down. It almost made a big mistake. This child of Lily is so extraordinary. Thinking of this, Snape slowly approached Charlie. Chapter 10. Little guy, you must have attacked me with magic. Snape slowly squatted down and looked at Harry expressionlessly. Hee hee. Charlie put on a harmless expression. His fat face trembled slightly. He looked like he didn't understand at all. He pretended to be stupid first. The more he did, the more he made mistakes. What if Snape, if his bestiality shows up again, he can beat the two brothers to death? Snape stares at Charlie closely. He always feels something is wrong in his heart. Did this child attack him just because of instinct? Just because he just losing control and going to do something to Harry? Maybe. Snape comforted himself like this. But he still couldn't calm down. Just now, he was hit by a baby. It was Lily's wand. How could a baby cast magic? Could it be that he was hit by a baby? Is Voldemort possessed? It shouldn't be. If Voldemort is possessed, there is no need to attack him. This will expose himself. The most likely thing is that this child can use magic. Damn it! How can a baby be so powerful? The magic power. At this moment, Snape detected the magic power fluctuations on Shari's body. He had already identified his inner thoughts. Everything just now was done by this child. This child is a magic genius. No, he should be a born wizard. This is a situation that can only appear in ancient books. Not even Dumbledore, the principal of Hogwarts, has ever experienced such a situation. Right, right. This matter is so important, I need to think about it. Snape murmured. At this moment, he felt extremely complicated. Lily's death was a big blow to him. And the two children left behind by Lily and James always made him feel a little uncomfortable when he faced them alone. Especially yes, he almost lost control just now. What was even weirder was that another child directly used magic to repel him. Unbelievable. At this moment, there was a rush of footsteps in the corridor. Then a sigh came. Denbulito arrived. He glanced around slightly. His eyes were slightly dim. He met Snape's eyes. There was a complex look in Snape's eyes. Indifference. Resentment. Sadness. Condolences. Dumbledore sighed slightly. Another person followed him next to him. Another professor at Hogwarts. Minerva McGonagall. McGonagall looked at everything around her. A trace of sadness emerged. She held her head in her hands. It seems that he is not willing to accept everything in front of him. No, that won't be the result. McGonagall whimpered. Snape snorted coldly, then walked through Dumbledore and McGonagall and left without looking back. Snape, Lily's two children. Don't you want to make some comments? Dumbledore suddenly spoke. Snape's steps stopped slightly, but only for a few seconds. He left again. Only Dumbledore's sigh and McGonagall's slight sobs were left in the room. Professor McGonagall, everything has happened. We have to get these two kids settled. Kid, yes. There are still two children, let's take them to Hogwarts first and then settle in. After hearing about the child, Professor McGonagall's expression recovered slightly. This is the only bloodline of James and Lily. Oh, Albus. The child was left with a gash on his head. McGonagall picked up Harry and said. Dumbledore walked over and gently touched Harry's forehead. On the lightning-like wound, there was an inexplicable surge of magic power. Dumbledore seemed to already know this. The origin of the wound. Sighed slightly. Then he walked towards Charlie. Albus, I'm thinking. Why were these two children able to survive? And as for Voldemort, there are only the corpses of those Death Eaters. Why didn't I see Voldemort's body? McGonagall murmured, as if there were endless questions in her heart. Charlie closed his eyes slightly, complaining helplessly in his heart. The corpse. Voldemort turned to ashes. I think there must have been a fierce battle here. We should reflect on our dereliction of duty. Dumbledore said as he walked. He hugged Charlie. The expression on his face was a little sad. The death of James and Lily was also a big blow to him. Sorry, little guy. I wonder what might be going on here. Dumbledore seemed to have made a difficult decision. He took out his wand and slowly approached Charlie's temple. Charlie suddenly opened his eyes. Looking at Dumbledore's actions, he immediately panicked. Just kidding. Does he know what Dumbledore wants to do? Legilimency. Dumbledore obviously wants to get a piece of information from the only two surviving children at the scene. Thinking of this, Charlie is very resistant. There are so many secrets in his body now. Just let him know that he attacked the Death Eaters and Voldemort, but not other things. Forget it. I can only be despicable. Thinking of this, Charlie immediately burst into tears. Since Charlie was born, come here, I almost never cry. In order to keep my innocence today, I can only do this. Woohoo wow wow. Oh, little guy, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have been like this. Dumbledore was frightened by Charlie's loud crying. He immediately apologized and stopped moving. Professor McGonagall also understood Dumbledore's intention. Albus, do you want to know what's going on here? Who resisted Voldemort? Where did Voldemort go? Yes, although my methods are somewhat inappropriate. Mag was silent. She also wanted to know the truth of everything. Could it be that a powerful wizard came to help? Mag suddenly said. This is the only possibility. Dumbledore also agreed with her statement. Otherwise, why would there be so many Death Eaters here? And why Voldemort did not succeed? After all, Lily is already dead. Voldemort's goal is Lily's child. Foresolve the possibility of making an appointment. But he resisted. Dumbledore shrugged. It meant that Charlie was unwilling to let Dumbledore do this. Or you can use my time turner to check it out, but I didn't bring it with me today. Professor McGonagall thought of her magic props. It's not necessary for now, my magic won't do any harm to the body. Dumbledore shook his head. Suddenly, Dumbledore and McGonagall seemed to remember something. They looked at Harry at the same time. Charlie was unwilling. Isn't this still Harry's? Charlie finally felt relieved. Take a breath. My dear brother, you have shouldered everything after all. Chapter 11. Dumbledore and McGonagall looked at Harry at the same time. There was no expression on Harry's face. He was completely unaware that he had been used as an experimental subject by these two ancient wizards. Although there will be no real harm. Fine. Charlie breathed a sigh of relief. After all, he doesn't know occlumency now. If a wizard of Dumbledore's level came to absorb his spiritual thoughts, everything about myself is probably exposed. Dear Harry, please forgive me. Dumbledore took Harry from McGonagall. Harry fell into Dumbledore's arms without any resistance. He even laughed. Then Dumbledore gently raised his wand and moved closer to Harry. Instantly, a burst of magic flowed into Harry's body along the wand. Then a ray of light was pulled out by Dumbledore. Dumbledore closed his eyes slightly and began to digest. McGonagall's face was slightly solemn. She was waiting. Dumbledore's result. Now all the information about this house is very important to them. Suddenly, Dumbledore's expression changed. He frowned. Albus, what's wrong? Have you found the wizard who came to help? Professor McGonagall was a little anxious. Oh, please wait. It's a little blurry now. Dumbledore said softly. He glanced at Charlie from the corner of his eye. This little baby was actually born with the ability to enter the animagus form. Oh my god! This kind of case has only been seen in some ancient books that cannot be studied. I didn't expect that I would actually see this scene in my lifetime. It seems that the test given to Charlie a year ago did not fully measure Charlie's potential. Wait. Fire dragon. In Dumbledore's mind, Charlie it has transformed into a fire dragon, with a terrifying aura and astonishing pressure. The cold eyes are extremely ferocious. This is really amazing. Dumbledore sighed. Albus, what happened? Professor McGonagall was extremely anxious. She had never seen such an expression on Dumbledore's face. He was complicated and hesitant to speak. In the end, his face was full of surprise. Please be patient. Dumbledore adjusted his mentality and continued to obtain information. Seeing this, McGonagall didn't want to disturb him anymore. But his eyes were fixed on Charlie. Because just now, Dumbledore had looked at Charlie more than 5 times. Is this doll the key to this matter? No, no, he is just a baby, what role can it play? The most likely thing is that it just drags down James and Lily. McGonagall thought this way. Dumbledore continued to meditate. The picture in his mind flashed again. The scene of Charlie transforming into a fire dragon reappeared, and a mouthful of dragon fire directly reduced the Death Eaters surrounding Lily to ashes. That was so bold and decisive. Now Dumbledore could not remain shocked. His body couldn't help but trembled slightly due to heat. He almost staggered. He had a hunch that everything today had something to do with this Charlie. McGonagall took everything in his eyes. But he didn't bother him again. Dumbledore thought of Charlie. That cold look. I couldn't help but tremble slightly in my heart. This is just a child. Even if it enters the animagus form, shouldn't it keep its own nature? No one dares to compare this to a 1-year-old baby like a fire dragon. Is it a change similar to that of a werewolf, where he loses his nature? It's possible. Or maybe it's because he saw his mother in danger. He instinctively wants to protect his loved ones. This is the power of love. Yes. It must be. Like this. Dumbledore thought like this. He took a deep breath. The look he looked at Charlie became more complicated. Charlie looked at Dumbledore, who was giving strange looks from time to time, and showed a cute smile. At this time, it's best to pretend to be stupid. After all, his current body is just that of a child. It would be fun if he showed too much and was captured by those strange dark wizards for research. After all, his body is still too small now. These risks cannot be tolerated. At this moment, Mag has already held Charlie in his arms. He is looking at Charlie by himself. Is he pinching Charlie's face? Or touching Charlie's arm? Let Charlie is a little miserable. Ah! At this moment, Dumbledore suddenly let out a scream. Then he broke out in cold sweat and gasped for air. Albus, what's wrong? Do you need help? McGonagall was a little anxious. It was the first time I saw Dumbledore lose his temper like this. He immediately put down his research on Charlie and came to Dumbledore's side. He supported Dumbledore. Dumbledore ignored McGonagall. Professor. Breathing by himself. Heavy and slow. The picture in his mind just now was too detached. A child. Charlie, actually waved his wand and used magic towards Voldemort, and it seemed that he still followed him. Magic similar to the death curse? How could this happen? Could it be that they would use the death curse just after watching Voldemort use it? It is impossible for James and Lily to use the death curse in front of Charlie. If this is really the case, that is simply too weird. Shocking. Albus, Albus. Professor McGonagall's urging sounded. She was already a little anxious when she saw that Dumbledore didn't reply. Professor McGonagall, please forgive me for not being able to tell you what happened today. Everything is top secret, I hope you can understand. Let's settle everything here as soon as possible, including the bodies of James and Lily, and these two poor children. God, is this all true? Dumbledore's heart rose in his throat. The legilimency used on Harry had shattered his understanding of the genius wizard. To put it bluntly, Dumbledore still knew what kind of existence he was. But compared with Charlie, it seems to be nothing. Who could be so ferocious as a baby? Professor McGonagall looked confused. I don't know how to reply at all. Dumbledore was so abnormal. And it seems that all information is planned to be kept secret. I don't plan to tell anyone, after all, even I have kept it a secret. Come on, let's take care of everything quickly. After Dumbledore finished speaking, he began to clean up some messes. After watching the complete legilimency process, I gained a lot of insights and realized acclumency fixed version. Charlie finally breathed a sigh of relief. Coming. Without acclumency, it would still be quite helpless to face these big guys now. Chapter 12. Charlie felt the details of acclumency solid edition. Rehearsed various scenarios. The magic power in his body is flowing slightly. Once you master this, it will be much easier in the future. Even if you haven't grown up yet, you can handle most searches, suspicions, etc. Hey! Albus, there seems to be a trace of magic fluctuation in Charlie. Mag suddenly said. I think you must have felt wrong. Dumbledore didn't look back. After Charlie heard their conversation, he immediately stopped the drill. He pretended to be stupid first. Dumbledore naturally knew that McGonagall was right. But at the moment, he didn't want too many people to know the specific situation of Charlie. Let's avoid it first. It didn't take long. The place was simply cleaned up. Dumbledore and McGonagall bowed deeply to Harry's parents. Then they took Charlie and Harry, prepare to return to Hogwarts first. As for the couple's funeral, they need to be dealt with separately later. Charlie naturally knows the follow-up situation of his younger brother Harry. Because his body was enchanted by his mother, Harry has to be sent to his aunt. His aunt is considered his blood relative. With the blessing of blood, this magic will protect Harry from being found by the Death Eaters. This will protect him from growing up safely. As for himself, there is actually no need. Think about it. There is a high probability that he will end up in an orphanage. After all, there is no way to send Harry to his aunt. If there is another Charlie, it is difficult to guarantee whether the aunt will directly throw them into an orphanage. I am no objection. Of course, Charlie himself can be considered a blood relative of Harry. But there is a high probability that Dumbledore and the others will not let Harry follow them. The two little babies are in orphanages, so there is no telling what will happen. If they are separated, at least it can also ensure some probability of safety. Time passed quickly. Dumbledore and the others did not delay much. As Charlie expected, Harry was sent to his aunt's house. After a few people settled Holly, they began to think about how to settle Charlie. In fact, I think if you can trust me, I can raise him. The person who spoke was Rubeus Hagrid, the giant. When Dumbledore heard this, he almost couldn't help but cast a spell directly. Hagrid, are you sure you won't accidentally give Charlie to you as an acromantula one day? After hearing this, Hagrid's bearded face trembled slightly. He seemed a little aggrieved. I think many wizard families are willing to take in this child. Professor McGonagall thought for a while and said. Kindness. Indeed. But. Dumbledore hesitated for a while. But as for Charlie, I want him to grow up healthily and stay away from wizards for the time being. This is relatively good for his growth and safety. After Dumbledore finished speaking, everyone fell into silence. After a long time, everyone agreed with the decision. In this way, Charlie's fate was temporarily determined. He was sent to an orphanage. He was in the same city as Harry. The sky was slightly bright. Dumbledore and Hagrid set off. They successfully placed Charlie in an orphanage. Before leaving, Hagrid hugged Charlie. Then he left Charlie with a small cage. Inside was a baby owl. Instruct the manager of the orphanage to take good care of the owl cubs. When Charlie is able to take care of himself, he will give the owl to him. Of course. To do all this, you need to pay more. Then came Dumbledore. Dumbledore thought about it. After a long time, he gave Charlie a ring. May you be healthy, safe, and happy. After explaining everything, Dumbledore and Hagrid left. Charlie started a new life in the orphanage. Time passes slowly. Everything seemed to be at peace. Charlie has reached the age of 10. These 9 years. It seems that everything in the magical world has nothing to do with Charlie. Charlie also enjoyed his leisure time. In the orphanage, he became a legendary figure. The king of children. Straight A student. Genius. Business genius. Thanks to the incredible understanding of the world, learning, information acquisition, etc. Charlie can master it quickly. Even in many life skills, Charlie has reached a proficient level. Such as cooking and so on. When the orphanage has some difficulties, Charlie will also make some suggestions. At first, the teachers at the orphanage didn't believe it. As a result, it turned out that Charlie's suggestions were absolutely correct several times. And saved the orphanage when it was on the verge of closing. Charlie's status and image in the hearts of these people are extraordinary. Some of the orphans and old nuns often pray under the moonlight. Charlie is God's gift to us. Charlie was already numb to this. One day, after Charlie finished feeding his owls, he carried the bird cage and left the orphanage. Along the way, the children and teachers all greeted Charlie enthusiastically. Today is the day when Charlie goes out for a walk. This boring activity makes his life somewhat interesting. Half a day later, Charlie walks back to the entrance of the orphanage. Charlie did not speak along the way. He counted the days. There is still 1 year left before he turns 11. By then, he will probably receive the admission notice to Hogwarts. As long as he finishes the year safely. Suddenly, Charlie's face changed slightly. The corners of his mouth raised slightly. Then he shook his head. An acquaintance came. Charlie turned around and looked through the crowd. Among the crowd, a black figure looked at Charlie indifferently. Snape. Originally, he immediately turned around, but he didn't care. Then he suddenly discovered that Charlie seemed to be looking at him. Snape couldn't help but his heart skipped a beat. Chapter 13. Snape's eyelids twitched slightly. Discovered? Not that much. Why would he, a small child, find me? Snape couldn't understand. He came today really to see Charlie. Over the years, Snape would visit Charlie every year. Of course, he had also seen Callel. Although he spoke harshly, he still paid attention to Charlie and Harry. Not for anything else, just because they are Lily's children. Charlie also discovered Snape's trace early. It's just that a few years ago, he was still young. I don't want to get involved too much. In other words, even if he wanted to do something, Snape wouldn't agree to it. Now that he is 10 years old, he can communicate some things. Charlie walked directly towards Snape. Snape's eyes were even more confused now. Are you really here to find me? Is this little guy so abnormal? Are you here to find me? Seeing that Charlie had arrived in front of him, Snape said slowly. Didn't you come to find me? Charlie looked at Snape with a half-smile. Snape felt a little frightened. Every time he came to see this child, even Dumbledore didn't know. How did Charlie find out? Is it because of magic perception? It shouldn't be. Even if Charlie showed outstanding magic talent back then. But no one has taught Charlie all these years, and he probably doesn't know how to use any spells. Is it just relying on magic perception? Charlie also discovered Snape there was confusion on his face. If he told Snape that he did not rely on magic power but relied on the perception and soul perception he had learned back then, I don't know what Snape would think. I had seen you before and then found out you were here again the next year. So I kept an eye out. Do you know my life experience? Charlie said leisurely. These words were of course made by him. His purpose was to obtain some magical information through Snape. For example, to see if he could obtain some books in advance. Snape remained silent. Seeing this, Charlie raised his palm. A faint wave of magic power appeared. I feel the same power in you. Can you help me solve my doubts? Snape still didn't speak. But the expression on his face couldn't help but change. Something seemed to be touched deep in his heart. They are so similar. There are some differences in the looks of Charlie and Harry. Then it's just that Charlie looks more like his mother Lily. Not just the eyes. For a long time, Snape seemed to have made a decision. You come with me. After that, Charlie followed Snape and left temporarily. The two came to a coffee shop. Snape was silent for a long time and told Charlie a little bit about magic. Mainly telling him that he had magic fluctuations in his body. It's a normal thing. Don't get too excited, and be careful about control. The rest is some common sense about magic, and a little bit of Hogwarts information. Uncle, you mean, I am a wizard? Then, can I learn magic? Coach, I want to learn magic. Snape's face twitched slightly. She seems to regret telling Charlie this. No. After directly uttering a sentence, he disappeared into the crowd. Charlie was left alone in the wind. Don't leave, just settle the bill. Charlie was speechless for a while. But today, it seems that the purpose has been achieved. This guy Nap is a tough talker through and through. He says the most vicious things and does the most kind things. If nothing else happens, Charlie will be able to get some information about magic later. 3 days passed. A nun from the orphanage knocked on Charlie's door. Dear Charlie, a gentleman has sent a heavy package. Charlie took the package and thanked him. Then after the nun left, he opened the package. As expected. It was from Snape. There were about 10 books in it. It was old and neat. Wizard Chronicles. Potions Basics. Magical Beasts Encyclopedia. Basic Enchantments. Magic Usage Guide. Reliable, he is indeed a tough talker. Charlie looked at these books and chuckled. Then he flipped through the bottom of the package. There were several notebooks lying on them, filled with various notes, manuscripts, etc. about basic magic. They were extremely well prepared. To be honest. Yes, Snape's strength and magical talent are also among the best in the entire Hogwarts. And his learning ability and attitude are very good, as you can see from these notes. Thank you very much. Charlie said softly. Then he began to fall into trance. He entered the learning state. Thanks to his incredible understanding, Charlie entered the learning state as silky as drinking water. Time passed by. You have read the basics of potions and learned advanced potion growing techniques. You have finished reading the Encyclopedia of Magical Beasts and summarized the methods of breeding magical animals. After reading the guide to using magic power, you suddenly understood the rules of breathing magic power. Knowledge and ability turned into a large amount of information, flooding into Charlie's brain and body. These basic magic books have raised Charlie's knowledge and foundation of the magic world to a higher level. This magic power breathing law can keep your body in a state of magic power breathing, and over a long period of time, it can increase your magic power reserves. It's not bad. It's much more efficient than the old and stereotyped methods in the books. As the day passed, Charlie read through these books. Then he took out his pen and paper. He started writing a letter to Snape. Hello Professor Snape, thank you for your gift. Now I have some doubts and needs, I hope you can help me. Charlie wrote something down and then handed it to his owl. This owl was a magical animal left by Hagrid. The letter was delivered very smoothly. A few days later, after Snape received Charlie's letter, lost in thought on the spot. Chapter 14. Want to read more advanced magic books? Have you finished reading these? I have summarized the law of condensation of magic power. Do you want to get another advanced book on magic power to optimize it? There are many errors in the basics of potions. Do you need a more authoritative book for verification? Are there any errors in my notes? Snape's eyebrows twitched fiercely. How presumptuous! Check it out, check it out. You are as rude as your father. I'm so crazy that I promised you these magic books. If I had known you were like this, I would have stopped you from learning magic. Snape stood up and paced back and forth in his room. His face was gloomy. He was angry. And he was very angry. But this is normal. A child who had just read magic books for a day dared to speak so brazenly about himself. I have read all the books. Now I need to get some new books to read. Is it possible? It will take at least a year or two for any freshman at Hogwarts to read these things. Okay. Even if Charlie really devoured these books, it's over. Admit it. What do the following nonsense mean? What do you mean that I have summarized the law of condensation of magic power and hope to optimize it? There are many mistakes in the basics of potions? Can I not know if there are mistakes? There's something wrong with his notes? God, this is a big joke. Oh no, Snape, am the joke. I actually played with him for so long. Damn it. It's been a long time. Snape took a long breath, wanting to calm down. Then he sat down and closed his eyes slightly. Half a day passed. Snape picked up the pen again. Charlie. I hope you will be an honest and upright person. What you said in your letter is really too arrogant. I'm very disappointed with you. Take care of yourself. Snape wrote a lot. Just call your owl. The letter is then mailed. After doing all this, he let out a sigh of relief. The look of disappointment was evident on his face. Originally, I had a good impression of Charlie. Plus the shock of meeting him as a baby. He always thought that Charlie was a god-given wizard. I didn't expect Charlie to be so arrogant. This disappointed him so much. One day passed. Charlie was still at home waiting for Snape's reply. But he didn't expect that Snape's reply would be filled with accusations against him. Inside Hogwarts at this moment, Snape had just finished a magical defense class. Pack your things and leave the classroom. Along the way, Snape was not in a good mood. I think of Charlie's reply yesterday. He felt like he couldn't help but feel angry. That arrogant look was very much like Charlie's father James. Much to Snape's disgust. Oh, Mr. Snape, I didn't expect you to be here. Suddenly a hoarse voice broke Snape's thoughts. Snape looked up. An old lady appeared in front of him. Pomona Sprout. Herbology teacher at Hogwarts, Hercules. The dean of Chipochi College. At this moment, her face was filled with a smile. She looked at Snape with a little excitement. A trace of doubt flashed in Snape's eyes. Looking at Sprout, it seemed that he was deliberately looking for yourself. Excuse me, do you have anything? Snape said directly. Oh, sorry for being so reckless. Sprout apologized first. I want to take up some of your time, don't worry, it only takes half an hour. Snape frowned slightly. He didn't like to be disturbed. Sorry, I hope you can promise me. Sprout's eyes were full of sincerity. Half an hour. Grateful. Sprout was very happy and took Snape directly to a conference room. Please forgive me for being reckless, I'm just too excited. Sprout said excitedly. Snape. Oh, that's right. Sorry, I still can't calm down. You wait a moment. Sprout took a deep breath. Then he took out a piece of crumpled paper. Did you throw away this note? Snape was a little displeased and looked at it intently. Oh, Charlie's letter. That's true. When he was furious yesterday, he crushed some of them and threw them into the trash can. Unexpectedly, he was picked up by the cleaning staff. After taking it away, it actually ended up in Sprout's hands. It's inexplicable, this is just a piece of garbage, you actually came so far to find me. No, Mr. Snape, you misunderstood me. Sprout's face changed slightly. She also knew Snape's temper. He was arrogant and cold. He was about to get angry right now. This piece of paper was passed by a trash can and I found it scattered on the edge. I originally wanted to pick it up. As a result, I accidentally discovered that there are some insights into herbal medicine. With all due respect, this view is too advanced. You even helped me point out the errors in the basics of potions I wrote. So I took a look and found that the mark on this trash can is unique to your office. So I guess you threw it away. I bother you rashly just to discuss this paragraph of insights and corrections with you." Snape was slightly taken aback. "What do you mean? Really? You are so carefree, why do you want to frame me for fun?" "Enough!" Snape shouted. Then he slammed the door and left. He was very angry, leaving Sprout with a confused look on his face. He was extremely depressed. Did I say something wrong? Why was Snape so angry? Forget it, his notes pointed out a few mistakes in my potion basics. I don't think about it anymore, I still have to thank him. But I didn't expect that Mr. Snape was not only accomplished in the defense against the dark arts class, but also studied potions so deeply. It's really excellent. Hogwarts is lucky. Chapter 15. Baffling. Snape was a little angry. What kind of thing is this? First he endured Charlie's big talk. Now even Sprouse is talking crazy. What pointed out the error in your potions book? What insights? Ahead of the times. How can I have the free time to talk to you about this? The more Snape thought about it, the angrier he became. His face turned red. Finally, Snape returned to his office. He put down the textbooks and other things in the classroom and grew out take a breath. I can finally rest. Snape rubbed his temples slightly and began to meditate and relax. The recent events were so inexplicable. Soon, time passed slowly. Half a day passed. Snape seemed to have rested enough. Slowly recalling Sprouse's words. Pointed out an error in basics of potions. Advanced insights. No. Snape calmed down and thought about it. Although Sprouse is old and a little careless, he will not be careless about herbalism. Never. There's no need to make fun of me. Is it true? Impossible, that was written by Charlie. How can that be possible? If Charlie devoured all the books within one day, he would recognize it. How can I still point out errors in the book? And it also got Sprouse's approval? Crazy crazy. Snape chuckled. He was amused at his own nonsense. But it only lasted a few minutes. There was something wrong with Snape's face. Somehow. He picked up the remaining papers that he had not thrown away yesterday. Already torn in half. Snape picked up one. What is written above is a summary of the magic power condensation law summarized by Charlie. The original intention was to ask Snape to help find more advanced books so that Charlie could verify his ideas and so on. Snape squinted slightly. It seems that he wants to completely crush his inner unrealistic illusions. 1 minute. The corners of Snape's mouth raised slightly. 5 minutes later. Snape frowned. 10 minutes later. Snape suddenly took a deep breath. Wrong. The theory and summary written by Charlie are not nonsense. Why is there such a tricky angle? No, I have to try. After thinking about it, Snape entered a meditative state. The magic power was condensed according to the method and angle described by Charlie. As time goes by, the expression on Snape's face became increasingly serious. It turns out. It is true. The method Charlie summarized himself is so efficient. Oh God! What on earth have I done? I actually wrote a 1,000-word letter, all of which was blaming and reprimanding him. He was just a kid and I would do something like this. Damn it! Snape was shocked. Awakening from a meditative state. Then immediately sweep it on the table and the ground. Yesterday's letter from Charlie was torn open by Snape and then thrown away. Now he has to find out. Finally, after half an hour. Disgraced, Snape found the remaining part. Of course, there are still a few parts that can no longer be found at all. Is there something wrong here in my notes? Isn't it necessary to do this in potion cultivation? Snape murmured. Then I found some potion equipment and started operating it. A few hours later. Snape finally breathed a sigh of relief. Slumped in a chair. Looking at the ceiling, he didn't speak for a long time. Everything written in the letter turned out to be true. He was right. God played a big joke on me. I actually wrote a letter scolding him. Said he was like a stupid pig. Stupid pig, it should be me. Call. Snape was a little helpless. The letter has been sent. Although it will take a few days to get into Charlie's hands. But if he intercepted the owl now, it would be too late. Then Snape recalled the whole thing. I just feel my scalp is numb. What kind of existence is this child Charlie? It's downright terrifying. This is a God-given wizard. I have never heard of a wizard with such a gift. He is only 10 years old. Dumbledore was probably beyond his reach when he was so young. Albus, your status in the magical world will be surpassed by others in the future. Snape smiled bitterly and shook his head. Then he slowly cheered up. He could no longer be decadent. What he could do now was to handle the request in Charlie's letter for Charlie. Help him collect those books and give them to him personally. Send it over. Apologize in person? It seems a little impossible. Forget it. Let's talk about it then. There seems to be no problem in apologizing to Lily, a genius wizard. Snape thought so. Then Snape tidied up a little and left his office. A figure in a black robe appeared in the Hogwarts library. He was holding on to the stairs, looking for books one by one. Charlie is a little confused now. He received a reply from Snape. The 1,000 words in the letter are all about my arrogance. Fine. Snape was quite principled. Didn't use howler letters directly. Otherwise, if you accidentally open it in front of others, you will die immediately. If you don't want to help, then I won't help. Uncle, you are too honest and you sprayed 1,000 words. Charlie shook his head helplessly. Of course, he had no intention of giving up. In a few days, after Snape's anger has subsided, he will write a letter to explain. Charlie thought so. Time flies. Charlie calculated the time, and Snape should not be angry again. Then he wanted to write a letter. As soon as he finished writing the first sentence of the letter, he heard a nun calling him. Dear Charlie, someone is looking for you. Chapter 16. Someone is looking for me? Charlie was a little confused. It shouldn't be coming. Then Charlie stopped what he was doing, got up and went out. As soon as he went out, that familiar figure came into view. A tall and thin body. Deep eyes. Dark robes. It was Snape. 2. Their eyes met. The situation was extremely awkward. Charlie was filled with doubts. Snape suddenly came to him, which he didn't expect at all. After all, not long ago, Snape wrote 1,000 words to criticize him. According to his arrogant character, he shouldn't have come to him. On the other hand, Snape's face had an extremely rich expression at the moment. He seemed to be struggling with something. When he came this time, he brought a new magic book to Charlie. They were all collected by Charlie asking Snape for help in his previous letter. Snape originally didn't bother to do it, after all, the image Charlie gave him was too abrupt and rude. But since then, he has discovered that the magical insights Charlie said are very different to himself. After the errata of notes, Snape's worldview was completely overturned. It was too scary. A 10-year-old child had not yet entered Hogwarts. He only read a few magic books and notes. It seemed that he was just after reading it for a day. He actually had such profound attainments and insights. Since then, Snape's image of Charlie has been greatly changed. He personally collected the books that Charlie needed for him. After thinking twice, he personally sent them over. Required I know that Snape is extremely arrogant. The only person who can make him do this is Charlie's mother Lily. Did you see that letter? Suddenly, Snape spat out these words. Kindness. Charlie chuckled and nodded. A flash of red appeared on Snape's face. He was a little embarrassed. He felt a little hot. Ahem. It was me who was abrupt. I have not deeply understood and analyzed your views and practices. Later, I went to take a closer look and implemented the operation. You are right. It's hard to believe. Please forgive me for being reckless. Snape's voice was low at the last word, but extremely determined. At this moment, he no longer regarded Charlie as an ordinary child with magical talent. He is Lily's child. God-given wizard. Oh, it doesn't matter. I was just about to write another letter to you, Uncle. I just started writing and you came. It really surprised me. Charlie responded. He didn't care. Snape raised his eyebrows slightly. Are you planning to write me a letter? This child didn't take it seriously at all. Oh my god. I deserve to die. I actually said that to such a kind child. Such vicious words. I really deserve to die. Snape was extremely regretful. It seemed as if he had committed something serious. Generally, if Charlie hadn't been here, I'm sure he would have started tearing his hair out to vent his anger. Charlie. You are so amazing that it's hard not to like you. I solemnly apologize for my recklessness and for your understanding." Snape's tone was sincere. Charlie was also slightly surprised. This old man, although he keeps a straight face every day, is indeed a very down-to-earth person. It makes me a little embarrassed. "Professor Snape, you shouldn't be just talking about this, right?" Charlie broke the slightly stiff atmosphere and said. "Ah, yes, yes." Snape calmed down. "I found these magic books for you. These are more advanced books and should be enough for you to read for a while. Although I don't know what your situation is now, but some practical matters, it is better to wait until you enter Hogwarts in the future. After all, without equipment and other conditions, it would be more dangerous. I hope you will digest more theories and lay a solid foundation." Snape made some suggestions. Then the two of them found a coffee shop and sat down. Snape began to tell Charlie some things about Hogwarts. For example, in 1 year, Charlie will receive the admission notice. Notice. Some things to note about Hogwarts. The structure and organization of the entire magical world. And some taboos in the outside world. He talked about it bit by bit for a long time. Charlie listened carefully. Although he had a general understanding of these in his previous life. Concept. But what Snape told him personally was different. It gave Charlie a certain understanding of the current layout of the magical world. Of course, Snape kept silent about Charlie's life experience. "Don't talk about it." Charlie didn't ask any more questions. "I ignored it selectively. I can't say that I remember that night. Uncle Snape, you came to my house. In grief and embarrassment, you almost threw my dear brother to death." Lee. Time passed quickly. The two had a great conversation. Snape had a very good impression of Charlie. He lamented that Lily had finally given birth to a good son. He seemed to be much better than the other Harry. It was over. Snape hesitated for a moment. Then he took out a notebook from his arms. "Charlie, I have encountered some magic problems in the past few years, but there has been no solution. If you have time, you can also take a look." "Oh damn, I would actually give this to Charlie." Snape regretted a little after saying this. This was the thought that suddenly flashed through his mind. The problem is indeed real. It has troubled Snape for a long time. Something happened. Yes, Snape actually vaguely felt that Charlie could help with these problems of his. Forget it. Take it all out and let Charlie take a look. In short, he will gain something. As for whether it can be solved? Forget it. Basically impossible. Charlie took Snape's notes and nodded. He didn't think much about it. The two said goodbye to each other. Before leaving, Snape also promised Charlie that if you have any questions in the future, just ask him. He asked for help. Whether it's magic knowledge or other things. Chapter 17. After Snape said goodbye, Charlie returned to his room at the orphanage. He glanced at the unfinished letter on the table. He shook his head and threw the letter directly into the trash can. Then he began to look through the books sent by Snape. These books are obviously very old. Simple yet full of texture. But there wasn't a trace of dust on it. I think it must have been cleaned up by Snape. Defense against the dark arts from beginner to master. Secrets of fantastic beasts, the origins of magical creatures. Research on the importance of magic power reserves in actual magic combat. Herbal Encyclopedia. The content of this book is much more in-depth than the previous one. Charlie quickly entered a learning state. Soon he fell into samadhi. Time flies. You have finished reading Defense Against the Dark Arts from Beginner to Master and have understood the general defense against the dark arts. You have finished reading Encyclopedia of Magical Knowledge, Advanced Edition, and have understood the Advanced Edition of Magical Energy. You have finished reading Herbal Encyclopedia and understood the art of herbal grafting. A few days passed. Charlie devoted all his efforts to reading these books. This time it was much more profound than last time. Even the time spent was longer than last time. Charlie only felt that his mind was full of knowledge. And the skills and rules that have been learned are like imprints. Deeply etched in my mind. The last one. Charlie picked up the last book. The detailed rules of the flow of magic power in the body was quickly read. Everything in the outside world seems to have nothing to do with Charlie. You have finished reading details of the flow of magic power in the body and understood the rules of magic body tempering practice. Charlie put down the book. Take a deep breath. Finally finished reading. The last magic body tempering cultivation law to be understood. Charlie was very satisfied. An ordinary wizard can be powerful, but it often appears extremely weak in terms of defense. This is why Hogwarts teaches defense against the dark arts as a priority. After all, you only live once. Once a wizard is attacked by a sneak attack, it is easy for him to lose his vitality in an instant. But this rule that Charlie understood can solve this problem. If practiced properly, it becomes an instinctive reaction, muscle memory. When encountering a magic sneak attack, it can instantly condense a magic barrier on his own body. Precise and strong. Effectively prevents the offensive nature of black magic. Certainly. In fact, Charlie himself has the means to resist black magic. For example, he can instantly enter animagus form. Become a fire dragon. The physical intensity will reach a frightening level. It just takes too much time to wear clothes. This ability can occasionally be used by Charlie when no one is around. Go to the countryside to practice. Now Charlie has reached 10 years old. The size of the fire dragon's body has also grown to a satisfactory level. Wait until after enrolling in Hogwarts. If you prepare more magic potions and magic food, the fire dragon's body should be able to grow faster. Charlie began to look through Snape's notebook again. It is densely packed with Snape's opinions on the current defense against the dark arts. There are also many experimental processes recorded in detail. Charlie watched carefully. After a while, Charlie summed up Snape's problem. That is the topic of how to effectively avoid wizard sneak attacks. What a coincidence! Doesn't this collide with Charlie's realization just now? After reading Snape's notes, Charlie understood the entire process of the magic body tempering training rules very much, and he reached a new level. Then the rest of the time, Charlie began to practice this rule. The effect is very explosive. Charlie only felt that his body was strengthening rapidly. Strength, speed, etc. all are quite refreshing. Said with no exaggeration. At the age of 10, it was no big deal that his chest was broken. Of course, I would definitely not do such a thing. Charlie's biggest gain. That is, he has been able to condense a magic barrier on his body in an instant. Such as palms, back, knees. Instant. It's almost an instinctive reaction. This has nothing to do with the set of cultivation rules that Charlie has understood. Only by practicing according to the method summarized by Charlie can it be possible to achieve such a situation. The next day, Charlie picked up the pen. Start writing. The content is information about some books needed for checking. With some regards for Snape. Finally, there are answers to the questions in the notes left by Snape. After you finish writing, call the owl. Done. Charlie finished all this and began to rest. He was also very busy during this period. A few days later, in an office at Hogwarts, Snape stared at the window in trance. It seems to be waiting for something. Don't know why. Snape was always a little distracted these days. Inexplicable. He always felt that Charlie would surprise him. Forget about those books, Charlie will definitely finish them in a short time. But my defense against the dark arts notes. Will Charlie give some advice? There are some small expectations. Although Snape thought this was ridiculous. Gwa. There was a bird chirping. Snape's heart skipped a beat. Then he quickly looked out the window. Sure enough, Charlie's owl was slowly flying over here. Snape finally heard the news and threw some magic snacks to the owl. Then after taking a seat, he began to look through Charlie's letters. Dear Professor Snape. I need books in some fields as follows. Snape read it slowly, recording all the information. These are all things that Charlie needs, and he has to take care of them well. Then continue to look. My eyelids are twitching slightly at this moment. I have some thoughts on the defense against the dark arts topic you mentioned. It's true. Snape's heart surged. God. Charlie actually responded to my questions. Is this still a child? A magical boy who didn't enroll in school? I'm afraid he's a magic genius. Snape suddenly stood up. Pacing back and forth. Keep breathing deeply. He seemed to want to calm down quickly. A long time. Snape breathed a sigh of relief. Then he rubbed his cheeks. Slowly sat down. Get out pen and paper. Place the written letter on paper and pen. Start excerpting. Chapter 18. Snape looked carefully. Charlie's notes were rather sloppy. But Snape didn't mind at all. When encountering something that cannot be seen clearly, they will repeatedly look at it and deduce it. Yes, it would be best if you could condense a magic barrier on your body. But how can it be so simple? It condenses in an instant, which is impossible for ordinary magicians to do. Snape saw Charlie's point of view written on the front and nodded. He agreed. But at the same time, he also raised his own doubts. Yes. If things can be advanced in such an idealistic way, then there will be no existence. All kinds of difficult magical topics. But this time Snape was not impetuous. Instead, he calmed down and continued to study. He had high expectations for Charlie. Since Charlie mentioned this matter in his reply, there is a high probability that it will happen later. He had his own ideas. As for whether there was a solution, Snape didn't dare to hope. Suddenly, Snape's expression changed drastically. Drops of cold sweat oozed from his forehead. At the bottom of the letter, Charlie said to him, the theory has been extended and demonstrated to a certain extent. The most important thing is that Charlie actually wrote a set of theories and methods for using magic to strengthen himself. And it seems that it is just to solve Snape's problem. In other words, magic the world faced the problem of defense against the dark arts. Snape took a breath and calmed down first. He felt that he seemed to be crazy. He accidentally gave Charlie the notebook. Charlie actually read everything carefully. Carefully he analyzed his own arguments, research, and problems. The most outrageous thing is that a 10-year-old boy named Charlie actually started to make comments on some of Snape's research. In the end, he also wrote down a set of magic and the theory of physical training. Attached are complete practical rules. There are also pictures. The structure of the human body and the process of magic operation. Densely packed. Extremely detailed. This would have made Snape completely crazy. If it hadn't been for the lesson learned last time, Snape would definitely mash it up and throw it into the trash can. After all, how could a magic rookie solve this kind of problem? But for now, Snape had learned his lesson. After the last operation, he had already lost face. It was a total loss. It made me want to apologize to Charlie in person. A quarter of an hour later, Snape changed the candle. Then he continued to study. As time passed, Snape's expression changed extremely. He pretended to be calm. Slightly amazed. Taken in a breath of cold air. Cold sweat broke out. Hands trembled. Breathing quickly. Snape stood up suddenly. Looking into the distance. He was a little panicked. What Charlie wrote was too advanced and terrifying. This knowledge, even without practicing it, Snape already felt that he had benefited a lot. Charlie. Who are you? Late at night, Snape began to practice the cultivation rules written by Charlie. As the practice progressed, Snape completely paralyzed. Completely correct. Not just theory. Even the actual implementation is no problem. Snape gently raised his wand and fired a magic bombardment at his other hand. As a result, the other hand almost didn't use Snape. Snape forced himself to control it. A thin barrier naturally formed, offsetting the aftermath of the magic bombardment. It was completely feasible. Now Snape was completely convinced. In fact, what he didn't know was that the lore written by Charlie it is not a complete version. It is a simplified version written by Charlie after being screened and condensed. Of course, it does not mean that he is deliberately guarding against Snape. But the pattern of this magical world is extremely subtle. You still have to be careful when doing things. The training rules that Charlie wrote to Snape were simplified and the effect was greatly reduced. But just these were enough to completely convince Snape. Daybreak. In Hogwarts, Snape was still practicing the rules written by Charlie. Tireless. His face was full of madness. For a wizard of his level, can achieve achievements and breakthroughs in this magic research. It's something extremely exciting. Rest. Non-existent. Directly cultivate immortality. No need to sleep. Boom, boom, boom. There was a knock on the door of Snape's office. But Snape didn't seem to know. Professor Snape, I have something to ask you. The person here is Sprout. He is the professor who found Snape's lost draft and came to see Snape. The Dean of Hufflepuff House. Oh my god! Did you stay up all night? Snape did not raise his head to respond. Sprout noticed Snape's abnormality and said with slight surprise. Snape at this moment can be said to be like a savage. Unkempt. In Sprout's reflection, it was something that had never happened before. Although Snape was stern, his appearance was always neat and tidy. Seeing that Snape did not respond to her, Sprout was not angry. Instead, he got along with himself. Picked up the notes on Snape's desk and flipped through them at will. It doesn't matter if you don't read them. The atmosphere became extremely strange. An old lady, squinting her eyes. Her mouth was slightly open. Her face was full of surprise by the end, it almost turned into panic. God, is this true? Mr. Snape, you are really great for making such a research breakthrough. With all due respect, I would like to put your method into practice immediately. Then Sprout didn't care whether Snape responded or not. He started practicing according to the method in the notes. For a long time, the old lady Sprout's pupils dilated and she couldn't close her mouth. It actually works. Lord Snape, you are truly a treasure of Hogwarts. Your research will definitely shock the entire magical world. The editor-in-chief of the Magic Research newspaper is in my office, and I will go and discuss it with him now. After Sprout finished speaking, she didn't wait for Snape to respond. She left Snape's office directly. She was very excited. Chapter 19. Until Sprout left, Snape didn't respond to her. He was completely immersed in the shock of this breakthrough. For them, the professors at Hogwarts, he has an almost crazy obsession with magic research. Pursuing the truth and seeking breakthroughs in magic research are their basic qualities. This is why Sprout discovered Snape's manuscript. It's going to be so out of control. After all, it was without Snape's consent. So much so that she seemed to have completely forgotten about coming to see Snape. But now she can't control it. These people are facing a breakthrough that can benefit the magical world. We will still stand on the side of fairness and justice. Your Excellency, Editor-in-Chief, amazing, amazing. Sprout returned to his office. Before he even entered the door, he started to argue. This has something to do with her character. She just looks so carefree. Oh, Miss Sprout, please slow down and watch your step. Frank Weiss, editor-in-chief of the Magic Research newspaper, reminded him softly. His identity is very special. Not limited to any magical force. But he is quite authoritative in the entire magical world. Even the Dark Wizard respected him. After all, he is a person who devotes himself wholeheartedly to magic research and compilation of books. It is difficult not to be respected. Originally he was coming today. It was to discuss something with Sprout. That is to say, Sprout discovered some insights and corrections about potions in the manuscript that Snape threw away. These findings and conclusions deserve to be published in the Magic Research newspaper and have a special theme for publication and commendation. The editor-in-chief of the newspaper also recognized it very much. So he was invited to Hogwarts. I plan to discuss it with Sprout and Snape, the writer of the manuscript. After all, this is an academic breakthrough in the magic world. It's still very exciting. But for now, something seems to have gone wrong. Sprout actually came back alone. There was no sign of Snape at all. This made the editor-in-chief Weiss a little confused. He had long heard that this professor at Hogwarts had a weird personality. And he is aloof and arrogant. Unexpectedly, even Weiss came in person. I can't even hire this Snape. Think of this. A trace of displeasure flashed across Weiss's face. But it was quickly covered up. After all, his purpose is also for the academic truth of magic. Other things are trivial compared to this. Sir Weiss, guess what I brought? As soon as Sprout returned to the office, he directly picked up the teacup and drank a gulp of water. He breathed heavily. He seemed to be in a hurry along the way. Oh, dear Sprout, why don't you consider taking a break first? Weiss gently supported her to prevent her old bones from falling apart. No time to explain. Sprout finished drinking the water and threw the teacup away. Weiss's eyelids jumped. This old lady was too fierce. Sprout handed the manuscript to Weiss. Then he was full of expectations. Looking at him, Weiss was a little confused. But forced by Sprout's sincere eyes, he still found a place to sit down and read hard. Oh, interesting, this point of view coincides with my younger self. But this is just a theory, any good wizard can think of this. The key point is that there is no solution, and no one has been able to find a practice rule that can be implemented. Wes nodded while looking at it. He also looked somewhat appreciative. Is this Snape's manuscript? As expected, he has a lot of magical talents and insights, just like the rumors said. Wes put down the manuscript and nodded. He gave Sprout a faint smile. It turned out that Sprout just responded to him with a gesture. The gesture seemed to say, "Go on, stop and do it." Well. Weiss frowned slightly. Haven't you already read the key points? I haven't seen Snape, so other things are not important anymore. Just when I was about to speak, I noticed Sprout's hot eyes. Still staring at himself. Okay. If it weren't for everyone's age, it would inevitably make people wonder if the old lady had any thoughts about him. There was no way. Weiss threw away the miscellaneous thoughts again. Continue. After reading it, it doesn't matter. As soon as I looked at it, Weiss's face changed completely. What kind of manuscript is this? There are complete theories and implemented practice rules on it. Oh my god! It's eye-opening. Facing magic academically, I am so frivolous. Thinking of this, Weiss gave Zi a slap in the face. He calmed down quickly and took a good look at the next content. Sprout watched all this. As well as Weiss's abnormal behavior, it seemed that not surprised at all. The sample, so that you don't care, must be scared now. Time passed slowly. Sprout sat aside and did not disturb Weiss, waiting for him to read it all before talking. God. I apologize for my frivolity. I almost missed this great breakthrough. Miss Sprout, where was this manuscript found? Weiss took a deep breath. Half a day passed. He had read the contents of the manuscript and experimented on it himself. There was no problem with the contents of the manuscript at all. No matter the theory or practice, it completely subverted his understanding. No. This manuscript can be said to be more precious than any treasure to him at present. He can imagine how much of a disturbance it will cause once these contents are published by Magic Research. The entire wizarding world will probably crazy about it. Look at this handwriting, does it look familiar? Sprout smiled knowingly. Oh, is it so? Let me take a look. It's almost exactly the same as the handwriting used to write potions. Sky. Are they all the research results of Lord Snape? God have mercy on me, I came to the right place today. Wes was so excited. He jumped up. Unexpectedly. Today, he originally wanted to discuss the theoretical knowledge of potions with Snape. He actually got something like this. At this moment, the door of Sprout's office was closed. Open it. A man in black robes appears in front of the two of them. Snape is here. Chapter 20. Snape didn't look very good. He has been immersed in Charlie's theory. So much so that when Sprout came, he didn't respond. But as time goes by, he also gradually calmed down. Then when I want to continue reading the manuscript, found some missing. Only then did he think that Sprout had come to see him not long ago. It's just that I was busy digesting the knowledge and didn't entertain her. In the impression, Sprout seemed excited too. Took some of his things. Only then did Snape come to her office. Open the door. At a glance he saw his lost manuscript. There is a hint of anger. Miss Sprout, is it rude to take my things without my permission? Oh, I'm sorry, Professor Snape. Sprout gave a sheepish smile. But I hope you understand that these things are beyond my control. Your research and breakthroughs are really amazing. You also know that those of us who concentrate on academic research on magic cannot resist these things. So please forgive my presumption, your breakthrough is really great. Sprout explained. Snape frowned. Wes stood up and stretched out his hand to shake Snape's hand. Lord Snape, I have heard your name for a long time. I am Weiss, the editor-in-chief of Magic Research. Hearing this, Snape's expression changed slightly. This man actually came to Hogwarts. Please forgive my rashness, I hope to publish some of your research in the Magic Research newspaper. These are a great contribution to the entire magical world. Everyone will remember your greatness. What a great defense against the dark arts. Snape listened and his face became tangled for a while. For him, if this research was completely done by himself, out of respect for magic and the pursuit of faith, he would definitely publish it in magic without hesitation. Research. Newspaper. To benefit the entire wizarding world. Similarly, I can be regarded as famous throughout the ages. But the situation at the moment is a bit special. This is not something I did. And Charlie is still just a child. If he is exposed, then Charlie may suffer many accidents. Even some dark wizards with evil intentions may directly attack Charlie. Or kidnap him, force him to do some research, etc. These are things Snape does not want. I saw it. In my heart, he has elder care for Charlie. Feel sorry. The research is not mine, so I can't make the decision for him. Snape struggled for a while. He said slowly. His expression was also a little painful and regretful. After all, this set of theories and practices is an amazing breakthrough in the academic world. What? Are these not your achievements? Wes was a little surprised. But Sprout couldn't hold it anymore. Her mind was spinning rapidly. Isn't it Snape's research result? Who could it be? Dumbledore? No, Dumbledore's handwriting is mine. We all know each other. Besides, if it was Dumbledore's research, he would definitely contribute it. Not your research. Wise thought for a while. Then paced back and forth. He seems to be thinking about something. The person you are talking about must be a legend, right? He must be a peerless expert. Hermit. Yes, that's definitely the case. He doesn't want his reputation to cause trouble to him. Yes, the legend is like this. I was abrupt, I shouldn't have been like this. Wes said to himself. Then he turned to Snape. Lord Snape, what do you think of this? I published part of this research result in the newspaper Magic Research. Then I will sign anonymously and it will not have any impact on the master. Of course, the reward will never be less. Please pass it on to this expert for me. And I hope you'll say hello to me. What do you think? Wes's eyes were full of sincerity. Snape was also entangled. After all, in the face of magical truth, he was still unwilling to hide his secrets. This was a breakthrough that could benefit the wizarding world. Snape thought about it for a long time. After repeatedly confirming that no one's information would be exposed, Weiss finally agreed to Weiss's request. When Weiss saw Snape nodding, he screamed and roared excitedly. God! Such a good thing can happen to me in my lifetime. Magic research will surely become famous throughout the ages. This master is really great. I thank him on behalf of the entire magical community. Before they could react, Wes dragged Snape to Snape's office. He had to make certain excerpts. At the same time, he had to publish the content selectively within Snape's permission. Without further ado, changes come later. This is Wes' general rule of thumb. Half a day passed. Wes finished all the preparations. He frantically thanked Snape. Great Lord Snape, the wizarding world will never forget your contribution. You must wait until I say hello to that expert. Of course, I would be very grateful if you could help me talk to him. Snape shook his head directly. The last thing he wanted to do was to expose Charlie's existence at this time. Unless one day, Charlie could threaten the entire magical world. Well, that's such a shame. I thank this master on behalf of the entire magical world. God bless him. By the way, I will give you the reward after the publication is completed. Please suffer and give the reward to the expert. Thank you, Great Lord Snape. Chapter 21. Weiss said it all. Seeing Snape, he didn't want to pay much attention to him. He left wisely. After all, he has more important things to do right now. Screening, formatting, and publishing. The next issue of the Magic Research newspaper will definitely cause a sensation in the entire magical world. After seeing Weiss leave, Snape returned to his office. Then he took out a pen and paper. Start writing a reply to Charlie. Charlie, I will choose the books you want for you. There is something I need to talk to you about right now. Here's what happened. A newspaper wants to publish some content from your manuscript. After finishing writing, Snape hesitated for a while. Then he gave the letter to the owl. Then he packed up his things and prepared to go to the library. Check this guy out. It is not easy to find the books you want to read. They are all ancient, tricky, and unique ancient books. A few days later, inside the orphanage, Charlie received a letter from Snape. Frowning slightly. Then it stretched out again. To publish a summary of my manuscript that might cause a stir in the wizarding world? Will I be given a certain amount of compensation? I will hide my identity first. What a group of fanatical magic apostles. Fortunately, what I wrote to Snape were simplified versions. The truly powerful version is still in my mind. Charlie didn't pay much attention to this. It is nothing more than a crude version of a cultivation method based on my own understanding. There are still many flaws. Will this give them a small magical shock? But fortunately, some rewards will be given. For this reward, Charlie didn't particularly care about the amount. The key is that if it is given, it will definitely be given to Charlie through Snape. Kindness. In this case, I can legitimately ask Snape to go to Gringotts in Diagon Alley. After all, this amount of money is probably not very small. I definitely won't take it with me. There is a high probability that it will be placed in Gringotts. Diagon Alley is a place that Charlie wants to go to in advance. Besides, there should be a legacy left by his parents. But if there is an extra Harry, it will be divided equally. Speaking of Harry, Charlie thought for a moment. It's been many years since I last saw this good brother. I haven't been able to go see him directly in the past few years, otherwise the journey would be long and the transportation would be inconvenient. Once he sneaks out and doesn't come back for a long time, the orphanage will go crazy. Go see him if you get a chance. He was at his aunt's house and had a hard time. Think of this. The image of his aunt's family reappeared in Charlie's mind. Couldn't help but shook his head. Some pity for his brother Harry. A week later. Various forces in the magical world. Emergency meetings were held. Underground in Whitehall, London. Inside the Ministry of Magic. High-rise conference hall. The Minister of Magic sat in a high position and picked up a newspaper, feeling somewhat pleased. Have you all seen this magic research? The Ministry of Magic officials below all nodded. Yes, we have practiced it, and it is indeed correct and effective. Does anyone know who wrote the data source for these articles? According to reliable sources, the source is Hogwarts Professor Severus Snape. Organize some researchers from the Ministry of Magic to analyze these theories and studies and write a set of systematic books that can be implemented and replicated as soon as possible. The Minister of Magic immediately ordered. The people below looked embarrassed at this moment. What's wrong? Are there any difficulties? The Minister of Magic asked doubtfully. Dear Minister, this is what happened. We visited Snape at Hogwarts, but he only said that this was all he knew. And it seems that the real research breakthrough is not in Snape's hands. Similarly, we also contacted Dumbledore, who expressed surprise and did not know about this matter. Therefore, we may not be able to implement your request as soon as possible and can only write a rough version. The Minister of Magic frowned slightly. The research was not done by Snape? Nor Dumbledore? And experts? Those old scholars and old things in the wizarding world are the only ones known. Who is it? The simple version is the simple version, after all it is a good thing. Likewise, it's worth noting who has achieved so much. If I have a chance, I'd like to visit in person. Everyone looked at each other. In addition to shock, they were also full of doubts. Who is the mysterious master? Inside Hogwarts. In a conference room. An old man with a white beard is pacing back and forth holding a newspaper. Wonderful. It's really wonderful. Can this be done? This can be said to be a step in the history of defense against black magic. No wonder those people from the Ministry of Magic came to me so eagerly to ask for details. This kind of thinking doesn't seem like Snape's research style. This person is Dumbledore. At this time, the expression on his face is extremely interesting. It seems to be admiration. It seems to be doubtful. It seems to be surprised. Well, I can only talk to Professor Snape first. I don't know who has such a genius idea and can write such a defense idea. This method of cultivation is really unique. Dumbledore finished speaking. He straightened himself slightly and slowly walked out of the conference room. Albus, where are you going? I have something to ask you. As soon as I went out, I met Professor McGonagall. He also came over hurriedly holding a newspaper. Oh, Professor McGonagall, I'm not free today. Dumbledore shrugged. Then, without waiting for McGonagall's reply, he walked towards Snape's office. McGonagall was in a daze. He picked up the research on magic in his hand. Why did he run away before he finished speaking? How rude. Chapter 22. Dumbledore didn't care whether Professor McGonagall was angry or not. Right now, he was completely immersed in the surprise of the cultivation rules written by Charlie. Certainly, he didn't know that this was related to Charlie. These years, although Dumbledore would occasionally pay attention to Charlie and Harry, but the main purpose is also to see how they grow up. Have a good time or not. Can you grow up healthily? As long as there are no big problems in life. That was enough for Dumbledore. After all, after reaching the age of 11, they will also all receive admission to Hogwarts. By then, the two little guys will also be living under his nose. Now the most important thing. It was to communicate with Snape. Such a genius idea. It's just too exciting. It didn't take long. Dumbledore came to the door of Snape's office. Boom, boom, boom. Dumbledore knocked on the door. Enter. Then Dumbledore slowly opened the door. He seemed to be very old, but his movements were also extremely slow. Silverer, I think we should have a chat. Dumbledore said. Snape seemed to have expected that Dumbledore would come to him. He poured him a cup of tea. I think you came to me about the content in the magic research newspaper, right? Snape was very direct. Oh yes. You are really very straightforward. Communicating with you always saves you a lot of unnecessary trouble. That research was not done by me. In terms of theory, I have put forward some ideas. But the specific breakthrough point and the exquisite training method, not something I can think of. Snape is very honest. Indeed. Those exquisite cultivation methods. Even every flow of magic power, residence time, movement around the sky, etc. are extremely clever. Just one wrong step and it will be impossible to complete. This method, Snape didn't dare admit that he did the research. Kindness. Dumbledore didn't seem surprised and just nodded. He also knew the value of the content in the magic research newspaper. Dumbledore believed that even if he resigned as the principal, he would devote himself to the research of the magical academic world. It is difficult to achieve such an achievement. His idea is that this research may be recorded in a lost ancient book. Then it was researched and perfected and released. Do you want to know who told me about this study? Snape asked directly again. This time Dumbledore didn't reply. But the look in Snape's eyes already gave the answer. That's right. I came here just to know who wrote this. Sorry, Albus. I can't tell you, please respect me. Snape shook his head. No room for maneuver, Severus. Dumbledore didn't give up. No, Albus. You know my temper. After a long time, Dumbledore slowly stood up. It's really a pity. I originally wanted to discuss some issues with this magic master. It seems that you all have your own reasons. I took the liberty of doing so. Severus, I respect your decision. Excuse me today, I have to go to work. Snape nodded. Dumbledore is a very principled person. Since he did not inquire further, then basically he will not interfere or monitor Snape. Snape still has this information. Oh, right. You seem to have visited Charlie recently. How is the little guy? Dumbledore suddenly changed the subject. Snape frowned slightly. Then he immediately relaxed. I just went to see how he was doing. After all, he was living in an orphanage. Fortunately, the little guy's life is going well. The orphanage was very good to him. Snape responded. Oh, all right. I haven't seen him in several years. Dumbledore smiled after hearing this. Let me tell you quietly, Charlie's magic talent is very high. You can guide him to get started later. Snape was shocked. But his face remained calm. Could it be that Dumbledore was suspicious? Impossible. Who can relate this research breakthrough to a child like Charlie? I'll take care of it. Snape said calmly. Thank you, you are still so kind. Dumbledore nodded. Then he left Snape's office. At that moment, he caught a change in Snape's face. A terrible thought suddenly flashed through his mind. Could it be that this research has nothing to do with Charlie? Is this little guy related? But he immediately rejected his idea. It was too outrageous. Although Charlie shocked him so much 9 years ago, in the past 9 years, Charlie has not been exposed to magic. Even Charlie was in my cognition, I don't even know my life experience. I guess I have begun to awaken the magic power fluctuations now. I still scratch my head occasionally and wonder. Taking a step back, even if Charlie is born with strong magic power, it is unlikely that he can do such an amazing thing. Research. After all, this topic is very profound and has high theoretical requirements. Basically, only those who have been immersed in academic research for decades can get started. Hey, I'm really old and stupid. Dumbledore was amused by his idea. He shook his head and left. He wanted to think about extracting the system written in magic studies and then set up courses to teach students. This was very important to Huo. For Hogwarts, this is a very good thing. Thank you for your contribution to the wizarding community, and to magical academia. Dumbledore whispered in his heart. A few days passed. Charlie has been waiting for Snape's contact. But these days, the wait is basically empty. Finally one day, Snape's letter arrived. Chapter 23. See the words as the face, check the lee. Please forgive me. These days are special, so we can't meet each other for the time being. As for books, I will send them to you. You can study with peace of mind. When the limelight is over, I will come to you again. Severus Snape. Charlie looked at the letter and fell into silence. These days are special. Do you want to avoid the limelight? What happened? In my impression, nothing big will happen at this time point. Apart from classes and research, there shouldn't be anything special to do. Charlie shook his head. He didn't understand. Then he slowly fell asleep. 2 days passed. The books Snape had collected for Charlie finally arrived. The nun from the orphanage brought some friends from the orphanage and brought the books to Charlie. Thanks. Charlie casually gave his friend some change. The friend was very happy. In this orphanage, if you want to say that the person with the richest life is Charlie, there are always various ideas to get money. Every day, every time I check if there is anything to do or if I need their help, they will be very active. At worst, I can take some snacks home. Dear Charlie, what books have you been reading recently? The nun looked at the books that were half the height of the table, a little surprised. Oh, I want to learn magic. Magic? Charlie, your ideas have changed too much. The nun chuckled and then left. Charlie was left alone in the room. Cultivation of compatibility between wand and wizard. On the feasibility and practice of wandless magic casting. The magic of magical animals and what humans have in common. This time the magic book. It's all a list Charlie made based on his own needs. Of course, this list is only a range, please ask Snape to help him search. There is no real list of designated books. Fortunately, the collection of Hogwarts libraries is truly unfathomable. Basically, you can get all the books you need for checking. And most of them are sage magicians, with lifetime research manuscript copies and so on. Very precious and profound. Old rules. Charlie took a sip of water and began to meditate. Get into learning mode quickly. You gained a great deal of knowledge about wizards' wands and understood the theory of wand making optimized version. You have read on the feasibility and practice of wandless spell casting and have an epiphany about wandless spell casting basic edition. You have deeply studied the magical commonality of magical animals and understood the parasitism of magical souls. As time passes slowly, Charlie felt the amount of information and knowledge in his mind explode. Countless pieces of information swept through Charlie's sea of consciousness like a violent wind. Breakup. Combination. Optimization. Deduction. 1 day and 1 night passed. Charlie then entered a state of rest. When he woke up the next day, Charlie felt a little relieved. Thanks to previous accumulation and various magic books sent by Snape. This time Charlie gained a lot. Many aspects are involved. For example, Charlie had a rough outline of how to make a wand. Even Charlie feels it. As long as you use whichever wand you can feel the disadvantages of that wand. The realization of wandless spell casting was a great surprise to Charlie. Within common sense, when a wizard uses magic, he basically cannot do without a wand. Wands can help wizards better mobilize the magic within their bodies. Better fit spells. Increases the effectiveness and damage of magic. The advantages are many. It is also the most common method. But again, there are some disadvantages. For example, the swing before casting is too long. Some magic can even take several minutes to cast. For example, a magician needs to carry this tool with him all the time. A wizard who can only cast spells with a wand is almost like a muggle without a wand. Etc. Of course, some excellent wizards also have some wandless spell casting abilities. Such as Snape. Charlie has an image. In my memory, Harry was in his first Quidditch match. It was Snape who directly chanted the spell to help Charlie resist interference from others. It's just that it's still misunderstood. But Snape's trick was limited to a small amount of magic. Most magic cannot be cast this way without a wand. Charlie understood something different. It can be said. Most magic in the wizarding world can be used. It can be used without a wand. This made Charlie feel much more comfortable. After all, he doesn't have a magic wand yet. After understanding this, it will be much easier to do things. The most important thing left to comprehend is the soul parasitism technique. This is the magic that Charlie suddenly realized after studying many books about magical animals. The effect is incredible. You can let your soul parasitize animals or magical creatures for a short period of time. For example, Charlie looks at a crow or an owl. Once the spell is cast, then the owl's vision becomes Charlie's vision. Even the owl can speak for Charlie. It's somewhat similar to Voldemort's Horcrux method. Just without his evil and immortality prevention features. Of course, if the parasite of Charlie dies, it will not harm Charlie. Overall, Charlie was very satisfied with the ability he had mastered. With this, it will be much easier to move around in the non-magician world. For example, I haven't seen my good brother for more than 9 years. When the time comes, take control of the owl and go see my brother Harry. It's not impossible. Counting the days, Harry is probably going to have a hard time at his aunt's house. When Charlie went out, he was stopped by the nun. Another letter. Snape's. Charlie thanked him slightly and opened the envelope. Charlie. See you at the Old Street Cafe, I'll find you. Snape. After waiting for so long, Snape, a good elder, finally gave a signal. If he doesn't contact Charlie again, Charlie will feel like he is going to lose contact. Chapter 24. Snape's recent erratic behavior. Charlie vaguely felt that it should have something to do with him. Otherwise, there is no need to explain it to yourself. Soon. Charlie finished packing and headed to the cafe in the old street. Along the way. Noisy. Charlie felt dazed for a while. It seems to be incompatible with these. It didn't take long. Charlie came to the old street cafe. Gentlemen, are you here for coffee? The sister at the front desk looked at Charlie's childish face and said with a smile. Find someone. Charlie didn't bother much and walked upstairs. There were private rooms upstairs. Usually only those nobles would occupy them. Charlie's perception spread out at this moment. He found Snape's in an instant. Location. In a private room in the corner. The strange thing is that Snape even changed his appearance. Charlie walked up and entered the private room. He sat down on his own. Snape was now a bearded man. He looked at Charlie without saying a word. But there was a trace of surprise on his face. He told Charlie in the letter that he could just wait for him somewhere when the time came. Unexpectedly, Charlie found him directly. And disguised himself. Professor Snape, are you still going to keep talking to me like this? Appearance restored. Charlie snapped his fingers. Snape's face immediately began to change. Within a few breaths, Snape returned to his original appearance. You. Snape's eyes widened, as if he wanted to say something, but couldn't. Casting spells without a wand. Charlie has actually mastered this technique. It's been a while since I last saw you. Charlie has begun to use magic directly. Can he reach such heights just by relying on the books I found for him? This is too scary. Charlie, I don't know what to say. Please let me calm down first. Your performance is really too scary. Snape's stern face also showed something strange at this moment. Charlie looked confused. But he did not disturb Snape. Half a quarter of an hour passed. Snape finally spoke. That's how it works. I haven't come to see you recently, mainly because of your previous research manuscript. I told you that it was published in Magic Research, which is a very authoritative newspaper in our magical world. Your research was so shocking and extraordinary that it caused quite a shock in the magical world. In view of your young age, I did not reveal your identity. But recently I discovered some people who always want to follow me or want to get your information from me intentionally or unintentionally. That's why I won't see you for the time being. The disguise this time was also to conceal some whereabouts. Snape finished speaking and looked at Charlie. If I do this, you won't be angry, right? For some reason, Snape began to speak politely. He was more concerned about Charlie's feelings both inside and outside his words. No, I agree with all these practices. I don't like to be in the spotlight either. Uncle Snape, you are so considerate. Charlie affirmed. He also complimented Snape. This time, Snape's face revealed a smile for the first time. It was not a gloomy sneer. It was happiness from the bottom of his heart. Snape was also surprised since Lily died, he hasn't been so relaxed and happy for a long time. This is what happened. If I come here today, I mainly want to tell you these things. After all, this research was completed by you. If you need to put your signature on it, I will also find a way for you. Another thing is that the editor-in-chief of Magic Research gave me the reward. When there is a chance later or when you need it, I will accompany you to Gringotts to pick it up. Oh, and you didn't know, Gringotts is a special bank. Charlie listened and nodded. He pretended to be enlightened. How could I not know? I also knew that my parents left an inheritance to me and my brother. But having said that, you gave me too many surprises. Today you cast a spell without a wand and lifted my disguise magic. Every time I see you or read your letter, it gives me a big shock. In all fairness, your contribution to the wizarding world is worthy of being famous throughout the ages. There are also some books that I couldn't give you last time and are more difficult to find. This time I brought them along with me. After Snape finished speaking, he took out a few books. The books were not big. They were still full of time and ancient atmosphere. Charlie took the books and thanked him. Oh yes, Uncle Snape. Since the reward has been given, when do you think you will take me to get the reward? Charlie said directly. This is a good opportunity. You can go to Diagon Alley in advance. Otherwise, Charlie will have to wait until before the start of school to have the opportunity to go to that place. The entrance to Diagon Alley is very special. You need to use a wand to follow it. It can only be opened by tapping in a specific way. Therefore, if Snape takes him there, it can save a lot of trouble. Snape's eyes tightened slightly. Remuneration? Yes, but if you need to use this reward here, it must be converted into the currency of the human world. And your parents? Forget it, you will all know it later. Snape thought of this and swallowed his words again. Well, I'll contact you in a few days and I'll take you there. If you contact these in advance, there shouldn't be much of a problem. Snape and Charlie made an appointment. In the remaining time, Snape and Charlie discussed some magical issues. There was no surprise. Charlie solved Snape's doubts. This made Snape completely lost his temper. His good nephew. He is a monster. After saying goodbye to Snape, Charlie took the books and went home. My next plan is to go see my good brother. Harry, my brother is here to see you. Then Charlie's pupils bloomed with a purple light. An owl flew out from the orphanage. Chapter 25. Naturally, the owl was still the one Hagrid had left behind. Just now, the owl's vision and thoughts have been completely controlled. In Charlie's mind, a spectacular picture appeared. Above the clouds. Between buildings. Travel freely. Overlooking everything. Any human being or building seemed so small in Charlie's mind. Be reasonable. In fact, Charlie can fly long ago. After all, he can seamlessly enter his animagus form. In other words, it can transform into a fire dragon. But currently in the human world, it is still inconvenient to do this. If a fire dragon is flying in the air, he will probably be wanted by Aurora from the Ministry of Magic in a long time. It is still convenient to control animals. Charlie had actually wanted to see his brother for a long time. From the bottom of his heart, there is still a trace of emotion in it. But it was too inconvenient to travel before and I was still small, so I just left it alone. It's different now. After mastering the soul parasitism operation, I feel so smooth wherever I go. Just like going home. Privet Drive. In a house. Some noise and noise. There seemed to be a party going on. A plump, brightly dressed woman is squirming. It's said to be dancing, but it's no different from jumping around. Hey, Dally, how do you see your aunt dancing? The dancer's name is Maggie. She is Uncle Harry's sister. That is, Harry's cousin and Dolly's aunt. At this moment, it is Dolly's birthday. Aunt Maggie came from the countryside to celebrate Dolly's birthday. Dolly didn't even raise his head as he kept studying the gift his aunt brought him. A robot toy. Oh, it must look good. My great aunt. Dolly said casually. Harry's Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon were also feasting. Although they didn't look at Maggie, the flattery in their mouths did not stop. Maggie, your dance is the most unique I have ever seen. Oh, you are so discerning, I love you so much. Maggie was intoxicated in her dancing. Next to her, Harry was holding his own food. A piece of dry bread, which tasted like chewing wax. He looked at Aunt Maggie with disdain. This time Maggie also I brought a gift to Harry. A box of dog biscuits. Of course Harry wouldn't eat it. He put it down after taking one look at it. Now Harry is 10 years old. He is completely different from Charlie. When his parents had an accident at first, Lee has no sense of autonomy at all. Or rather, he has no memory. Ever since he had memories, it was at his Uncle Vernon's house. His aunt and uncle were not particularly kind to him. Especially Vernon, who sometimes treated Harry it would be very rough. Harry was also very confused about this. Sometimes Harry also hoped that they would treat Harry like their own son Dally. They would treat Harry as their own and hold a birthday party for him. Wait. But after so many years, Harry has long been disappointed. He just hopes that his cousin Dally and Maggie will not cause too big a thing to affect him. But obviously, the last thing he wants to happen is what often happens most easily. Maggie has a pug. She takes it with her almost wherever she goes. Today is no exception. Even if it was Dolly's birthday, she took the dog over from the countryside. Harry, I got up. I wanted to pour myself a glass of water. Compared to this large piece of bread, it was too dry. I accidentally stepped on something. Woof woof woof. There was a sound of dog barking. Harry was startled. Looking back, he saw that the big dog was already in an attack state. Harry was very scared and ran away. "Aunt, help me!" The big dog immediately rushed over and chased Harry. Harry was just a 10-year-old child at the moment. He was very scared when he was chased by the big dog. He called his aunt's name. But her aunt didn't reply to him. Petunia looking at Harry's figure, a trace of struggle flashed in his eyes. "Let him be, the dog won't hurt him. They were just playing." Just when he was about to speak, Vernon's voice rang out. Vernon sucked his fingers, as if he hadn't had enough. He wiped the oil stains on his scarf. "Honey, bring me another pizza, thank you." "Oh well." Penny didn't say much after all, and went to get the pizza from the oven for her husband. As for Harry's cousin Dally, he didn't even look at Harry from beginning to end. And Maggie, the owner of the dog, had a lot of trouble on her face at the moment. There was no look of worry. Instead, there was a trace of pride. It seemed that his dog behaved like this. It made her very proud. "Little bastard!" Maggie shouted and continued dancing. Outside the house, Harry ran wildly. His eyes were a little moist at this moment. He was a little desperate. Why didn't anyone help him? The dog was chasing after him. It seemed that he would pounce at any time. So. Finally, Harry saw hope not far away. There was a tree. It was not particularly high, just a few meters in front of Harry. As long as Harry could climb up quickly, the dog would not pose a threat to him. Fortunately, Harry's body was quite agile. He jumped, grabbed the tree trunk, and flipped up. "Call!" Harry gasped for air. Sweating profusely. Adjusted immediately. The intense running just now had almost exhausted him. It was lucky to be able to climb a tree and avoid being bitten by a dog. But at the same time, it's unfortunate. Because the dog didn't leave. Instead, he stared at Harry. Walk slowly around the tree. As if waiting for Harry to fall. After Harry rested, he looked at the dog that refused to leave and felt a little desperate. It seems that his uncle and the others have no intention of calling back the dog for him. Charlie at this time, still possessed by the owl, have been flying for some time. Quiet night sky. An owl turns into a stream of light and travels across the sky. About there. I haven't seen him in 9 years, so this guy is probably quite tall.